Chapter 555. Princess Ming'an was such an opinionated person, so it was impossible for her to be related to any small characters, but if it was someone with an official position, how would he be willing to take the risk and bet his future with Princess Ming'an to kidnap Shen Miao? One had to know that if Shen Xian found out about this in the future, Shen Xian would definitely not let it go. The officials of Ming Qi had always sought benefits and avoided harm, thus they would never do such a dangerous thing. Therefore, it could only be those who had a certain official position but were extremely eager to climb higher, to the point that they didn't even care about their own lives. Among the bureaucrats of Ming Qi, who was such a person? Shen Miao could not remember for a moment. But as the matter concerned Princess Ming'an, Shen Xian would be implicated in many things. One did not know why, but the first thing that Shen Miao thought of was that if Xie Jingxing were to take action, he would be able to find her very quickly. Thinking about it, Xie Jingxing also had the Feng Xian pawnshop, and the Feng Xian pawnshop's information was spread out in all directions, so if the person who abducted her was familiar with every place in the Ding capital, and the Feng Xian pawnshop had been doing business in Ming Qi for so many years, so how could it be defeated? Shen Miao could only hope that Xie Jingxing would discover her as soon as possible. She strenuously pulled her hands into her sleeves and the other party tied the rope very tightly. Shen Miao almost scraped her wrists before she was able to find the hairpin in her sleeves. It was specially made by her. Ever since her rebirth, in order to prevent all kinds of accidents, she had specially made this hairpin. The tip of the hairpin was bent into a hook. In a critical moment, it could probably be used to blind the opponent's eyes. This was a trick she had learned in the palace in her previous life. But now, it could be used to sharpen the ropes binding her hands and feet. Just as she was about to make a move, she heard footsteps coming from outside. Shen Miao's heart moved and she quickly stuffed the hairpin back into her sleeves. She leaned against the wall and closed her eyes, pretending to be unconscious. The door was opened, and it seemed like someone was walking in from the outside. Judging from the footsteps, there was more than one person. One of them said, "The Shen family's movements are too big. If this goes on, how long will it take to transport the people away?" Another person replied, "What are you panicking for? He's in our hands now. It won't be too late to send him out after we avoid the limelight for a while." There were two people. Shen Miao calculated in her heart. Listening to the other party's tone, she was only here temporarily to avoid the limelight, and in the end, they would still send her out. Wherever Princess Ming'an could send her to, it would not be a good place. What was slightly comforting was that Shen Xian's actions were extremely fast. Now that the entire city was on high alert and with so many pairs of eyes watching, it would be difficult for the other party to send her out. At least for a short period of time, she would not be in any danger. It was just that. Shen Miao's heart was suspicious. Why did the voices of these two people sound so familiar? But she was pretending to be asleep, so she couldn't open her eyes to look. Seeming to feel that there were eyes on her, Shen Miao heard one person saying hesitantly, "Why is she still not awake? Was it because I was too heavy-handed? Second older brother, what time is it now and you still have the mind to care if she wakes up or not?" Another person said, "Do not worry. Even if Shen Miao does not wake up, the princess side will be happy. You have also seen the princess attitude. The more miserable Shen Miao is, the better. It doesn't matter if she is dead or alive. I am just worried." The person who was called second older brother had some worries in his voice. "If this matter is discovered by father, so what if father discovers? Do not forget that you and I are father's biological sons. Ever since that little bastard died, father can only rely on us two brothers in the future." That person said, "Moreover, the Xia family and the Shen family are not on good terms. Do you think that father would report his own biological son for a Shen family that is not on good terms with him?" Chapter 556. Xia family. Xia family. In the corner, Shen Miao's eyelashes slightly trembled as she could not hide the shock in her heart. She did not expect that the people who abducted her were actually from the Xia family. That person called the other person, second older brother. Without a doubt, these two people were Xia Changwu and Xia Changchao. Shen Miao's heart was in disbelief. She had never thought that the people who allied with Princess Ming'an were Xia Changwu and Xia Changchao. One had to know that even though Xia Changwu and Xia Changchao had always been dissatisfied with Xia Jingxing, but from the previous lifetime, they were like their master, Fu Xiuyi, people who were good at enduring. How could they be so arrogant and conceited in this lifetime, not hesitating to put themselves in danger, and even did the shady business of abducting people? The residence of the Marquis of Lineage was a large aristocratic family in Mingqi, and even if it was a Shu son, it was better than many of the D sons of the official families. Once the things that Xia Changwu and Xia Changchao did were exposed, the entire residence of the Marquis of Lineage would be destroyed. Were these two people crazy? Xia Changwu spat out, "Is this place safe?" "Naturally safe." Xia Changchao said proudly, "Who would think that the young lady of the Shen family would be hiding in our residence? Besides, in this mansion, the only people who know about this secret chamber are you and me. Even if Shen Xian really received His Majesty's verbal order and was lucky enough to search our residence, I guarantee that he would return in defeat." "That is good." Xia Changwu let out a sigh of relief. Whether this matter succeeds or fails, it is all in a single thought, and there must not be a single mistake. Once the commotion outside is over, quickly send the person out. Xia Changchao nodded his head and took out clean water and rice from the basket before walking to Shen Miao's side and placed 2 bowls in front of her. "Wake her up. Eat now. One cannot starve to death." Xia Changwu asked. "No need." Xia Changchao said, "Tie her up. It is not like she does not have a mouth. Don't you think that to let a young lady eat like a dog, Her Princess Highness would be very happy? At that time, the princess would be happy, and it would be good to put in a few good words for us in front of His Highness." Xia Changwu then said, "It is also good. Third younger brother is thoughtful. Since that's the case, let's go out first to avoid suspicion." The two of them left after saying that. When there were no more sounds outside, Shen Miao slowly opened her eyes. There were 2 bowls on the ground in front of him, one was clear water, the other was. Fortunately, Xia Changwu and Xia Changchao did not give her something more disgusting to eat. Shen Miao sighed in her heart. It wasn't like she hadn't eaten before. There were even rancid dishes in the cold palace. So what? In order to survive, a person's dignity could be temporarily set aside. As long as there was a chance one day, they could take revenge. But Xia Changwu's and Xia Changchao's words finally made her frown slowly. This was actually the secret chamber of the residence of the Marquis of Lineage. If it was really so, then it would be difficult for Shen Xian to find this place. First, without Emperor Wen Hui's verbal order, it was impossible to search the residence of a bureaucrat's family unless there was concrete evidence. But without any rhyme or reason, the Xia brothers and Shen Miao did not have any interactions, so how would others think that they were the culprits of the abduction? Second, if Shen Xian really obtained the verbal order, as the Xia brothers said, this secret chamber was very secretive. Xia Ding did not know about it, so how would Shen Xian be able to find it? The Xia family took a different approach. The most dangerous place was the safest place. As such, the matter became more troublesome. Shen Miao looked at the clear water in front of her. Could Xia Jingxing find it? At the other end, in the Shen mansion, the imperial physician from the palace finally came. The person who came was dressed in white and was holding a folding fan. If it was not for the medical box on his back, he would have looked like a gentle young master of a noble family. He did not look like he was here to save someone, but to appreciate the flowers. Chapter 557. This person was the young imperial physician of the palace, Gao Yang. Luo Shuiyan and Shen Xian had a suspicious look on their faces. Even though Gao Yang's medical skills were praised in the palace, those who treated the patients in the palace were all female concubines. Females would always like flashy things, and no one could say that it was not because of Gao Yang's good looks that everyone praised his medical skills. Moreover, with regards to doctors, most people had a kind of thinking that the older one was, the more outstanding their medical skills were, and as for the younger ones, they only knew some superficial things. Shin Xian did not expect that the imperial physician that the palace invited was actually Gao Yang, and in a moment he could not refuse. If he were to invite again, one feared that it would delay a lot of time. That legendary imperial physician Gao was very knowledgeable about worldly affairs. He was first welcomed in and put on an air of grandeur as he walked over to the unconscious Luo Tan and took her pulse. Everyone looked at him with bright eyes, and after a long while, Gao Yang then shook his head and sighed, "Weak breath, disordered pulse, the wound is too deep and injured the internal organs and there is a lot of blood. It is difficult." Luo Shuayan immediately said, "So it is another quack doctor. Chiu'er, take your father's invitation to invite another doctor." "Slow down." Gao Yang said unhappily, "I only said it is difficult and did not say that the serious illness cannot be treated. You all invited me over for a house visit and now look for another doctor. What is General Shin's intention? You really can save younger Biao's sister?" Shin Qiu took a step forward and asked. "If it is delayed for a while more, this one would be helpless." Gao Yang said. "Good." Shin Xian said, "Do not doubt the person you use. If you doubt, do not use it. I believe you. If Imperial Physician Gao is able to cure Tanner, the Shin family will definitely offer a large sum of money." Gao Yang laughed and said, "One dare not dare. A doctor has the heart of a parent and there is no need for money. Young Lady Luo's life is hanging by a thread and cannot be delayed. This one must first perform acupuncture on young Lady Luo and ask everyone to wait outside." Luo Shuayan was still somewhat hesitant, but Shin Xian had already walked out. He had traveled extensively and knew that some capable people had some strange habits. Moreover, one's medical skills were most afraid to be spread out, and it seemed that Gao Yang was afraid that others would see it. Shin Qiu and Luo Ling also followed closely behind Shin Xian. When Luo Shuayan saw this, no matter how worried she was, she could only follow them out. Only Gao Yang and the unconscious Luo Tan were left in the room. Gao Yang put down his medical box. As he opened it, he mumbled to himself, "What does all this have to do with me? I'm the one who has to contribute." He took out a cloth bag and opened it. Inside were dozens of golden needles of different shapes and sizes. Gao Yang said, "It is one thing to please Shin Miao, but now one also want to please one's family." He shook his head and reached out to untie Luo Tan's clothes and said rather helplessly, "I have offended you." This one also did not want to do so. "If you want to be responsible, then go to the residence of Prince Rui, the one wearing the mask." Time passed quickly and 2 days passed in a row. In these 2 days, Imperial Physician Gao from the palace had indeed displayed his outstanding medical skills. While the group of physicians were at their wits' end, Gao Yang performed 2 acupuncture treatments and had someone brew 2 bowls of medicine for Luo Tan. Luo Tan's breathing gradually stabilized, and her pulse was much stronger than before. If another physician came to take a look, they would at least say that her life was saved. Changing from her previous suspicious attitude towards Gao Yang, Luo Shuayan treated Gao Yang as a distinguished guest. Because she was afraid that Luo Tan's illness would relapse midway, and it just so happened that Gao Yang's acupuncture treatments still needed 2 more times, thus Luo Shuayan let Gao Yang stay in the Shin mansion. It was convenient to check on Luo Tan's illness daily. Luo Tan's illness was stabilized, but there was no good news from Shin Miao's side. When Emperor Wenhui learned of the matter, he flew into a rage. Putting aside his prejudice against Shin Xian, someone had kidnapped a daughter of an official's family under the feet of the Son of Heaven, especially when the Qin country and the great Liang's envoys had not left. Was it not a clear indication that there was a rebellion in the Ding capital and the commoners could not live and work in peace and contentment? Thus he acquiesced to Shin Xian's actions of searching for a female. Chapter 558. But even after digging 3 feet into the Ding capital, one could not find Shin Miao's whereabouts. It was as if those people had vanished into thin air. The common people's families had been checked from house to house, so the next step of investigation would be to investigate those official households in the Ding capital. But the relationships between the officials were complicated, and if one was not careful, it would cause great chaos. Thus Emperor Wen Hui was not willing. Thus, they fell into a stalemate. The soldiers patrolled the streets all day and the public security in the Ding capital was much better, but to the Shin family, it was tantamount to a raging fire, making them even more anxious. In the study of the residence of the Marquis of Lineage, Xie Changwu and Xie Changchao were chatting. Xie Changwu said, "The Shin family is watching too closely and we have no way to transport Shin Miao out. If this goes on, one fear that Princess Ming'an would blame." In fact, Princess Ming'an was already angry. Even though the Xie brothers had successfully captured Shin Miao, but Princess Ming'an now hated Shin Miao to the bones, and could not wait to see Shin Miao reduced to the brothel, where she could neither live nor die. Who knew that because Shin Xian had created such a big scene outside to search for someone, Xie Changwu and Xie Changchao dared not act rashly, and Shin Miao had been locked up in the secret chamber of the residence of the Marquis of Lineage, so how could Princess Ming'an, who was an impatient person, endure it? Early in the morning, someone was sent over to warn Xie Changwu that if he did not send Shin Miao out, then the previous transaction would be invalid. In front were Shin Xian's subordinates going door to door to take stock, and behind was Princess Ming'an's indiscriminate pressure. No matter how astute Xie Changwu was, he could not help but feel a headache. Second older brother need not be anxious. Shin Xian is very powerful and we naturally need to ensure that we are not exposed. Xie Changchao said. I'm not in a hurry, but the princess is urging me very much. When Xie Changwu spoke till here, he could not help but complain. She did not think that at such a time, if there was a mistake, she would not be able to escape. Enough. Xie Changchao said, what the princess wants to see is nothing more than Shin Miao being humiliated by others. Even though we cannot send Shin Miao out, we can send people in. It was not illegal for the residents of the Marquis of Lineage to recruit rough servants and buy people from the Momo's hands, right? There shouldn't be anything suspicious, right? Xie Changwu was stunned. Not bad, Princess Ming'an only wanted to see someone humiliate Shin Miao. Now that the situation outside was tense and Shin Miao could not be sent out, why not bring outsiders back? If Shin Miao were to become an exclusive slave, would it satisfy Princess Ming'an's mentality? Third brother, you. Xie Changwu said, you have already thought of it. Father has a social event with the Minister of Revenue today. You and I cannot be absent at the same time, otherwise we will be suspected. Xie Changchao said, second older brother, you go first. I will get the mama in charge to buy a few servants. After the matter is done, then report to the princess. These days because they were since they were they to Shen to the matters to Shen, they that Shen affairs. Xia nanananan, they xia that they to meet. They and people. Young people and xia. Chang he and xia to buy to say, third xia people to. Xie Changchao complied. After Xie Changwu left, Xie Changchao then took out the secret room key from his sleeve and a strange light flashed in his eyes. Shin Miao stayed in the secret chamber for 2 days. Even though she did not know how long it was, she could guess from the number of times the food was sent. Her heart could not help but sink. It had already been 2 days and since these people did not make a move on her, it meant that Shin Xian's movements were really big. However, no one had found this place even after making such a big commotion. This could only mean that the Xie brothers' bargaining chip was correct. It was very difficult for anyone to think of this place. While he was deep in thought, he heard footsteps outside and the door was pushed open. In the dim light, that person met Shin Miao's gaze and was startled for a moment before smiling. These few days you always pretend to be asleep every time I come. Why not today? Chapter 559. Xie Chang Chao was somewhat similar to Xie Chang Wu, but compared to Xie Chang Wu's forbearance, he was more impetuous. At this moment he walked closer to Shen Miao and saw that Shen Miao had already used up half of the water and rice. He clicked his tongue twice and said regretfully, "Not only your Princess Highness, actually I also want to see how a young lady looks like when she eats like a dog." "Why did you not wait for me?" Shen Miao looked at him coldly. For a moment, Shen Miao felt that she could understand why Xie Jingxing hated these two Shu younger brothers, just like Shen Qing and Shen Yu. Shen Qing and Shen Yu still had to cover up their evil intentions, but Xie Chang Wu and Xie Chang Chao had the face of a villain and did not even bother to cover up their viciousness. Seemingly angered by Shen Miao's contemptuous gaze, Xie Chang Chao suddenly pinched Shen Miao's chin and forced her to stare at him. Xie Chang Chao said, "Shen young lady still do not know. General Shen and Shen Furen are currently searching for your whereabouts in the entire Ding capital. There is a reward of 10,000 taels of gold, but unfortunately no one has claimed it. Say, if I were to send you out, would I be able to get 10,000 taels of gold?" Shen Miao did not speak. "Unfortunately, I am also working for others and naturally cannot let you out so easily." Xie Chang Chao smiled again, "Do not worry. After today, your days will be slightly better. Her Princess Highness originally planned to sell you to a low-grade brothel, but unfortunately General Shen is chasing too hard, thus we can only open the brothel in the Marquis residence." Shen Miao's eyes slightly sunk. Seemingly very satisfied with Shen Miao's attitude, Xie Chang Chao leaned closer to Shen Miao and almost whispered in her ear in a strange tone, "In the morning I instructed the mama in charge to recruit a few burly men to look after the courtyard. They must be the kind of strong farmers. Say, after tonight, will you still have the strength to glare at me?" Shen Miao's eyes hung down and the hands in her sleeves secretly touched that hairpin with a hook. These 2 days she was not idle, and with an incredible perseverance, she slowly used the hairpin to grind the ropes on her hands and feet. She estimated that until now, the ropes on her hands and feet would only have a little bit of connection and she would be able to break free with a light struggle. At that time, she would use the hairpin to blind Xie Chang Chao's eyes. In this world, the road is walked by oneself. The so-called dead end is just because one doesn't have the courage to try it. Xie Chang Chao said, "But I am not willing to hand over such a delicate little beauty like you to others. An official's daughter, with soft skin and tender flesh." He bit heavily on the 2 words daughter and smiled, "Why don't you let me enjoy it first? Back then, that little bastard Xie Jingxing seemed to treat you differently." Xie Chang Chao's smile was somewhat vulgar. "I have been brothers with him for more than 10 years and understand him the best. One fear that the relationship between you and him is not ordinary." "Why? Is young lady Shen Xie Jingxing's lover?" Xie Chang Chao's words were so unpleasant to hear that Shen Miao also showed a little anger. However, this anger seemed to please Xie Chang Chao as he laughed, "It does not matter if you are his mistress. For so many years, that little bastard had suppressed us 2 brothers in the residence of the Marquis of Lineage for so many years. Today I will sleep with his woman and this feeling is not bad." He smiled evilly, "Young lady Shen should thank me. Your first time is given to me, a young master of an official's family. It is much better than those peasants rolling in the mud. After me, you will then know what is called real rudeness." He suddenly pulled Shen Miao's head over and rubbed his thumb on Shen Miao's face. There was an intoxicated look on his face, but it made one feel nauseous. Shen Miao's eyes were calm, but she was calculating when to poke the hairpin into Xie Chang Chao's eye and how to stab his other eye. After crippling both of his eyes, see how he would run amok. Xie Chang Chao's eyes slightly sobered up and his face suddenly sunk as he looked at Shen Miao. "Why are you not afraid?" Shen Miao looked at him. Xie Chang Chao's face sunk and seemed to be very displeased with her indifferent reaction. "Why are you not afraid? Are you still waiting for someone to save you?" Shen Miao said, "What exactly do you want to do?" Xia Changchao suddenly leaped up and Shen Miao could not dodge in time and was thrown onto the ground by him. This time she could not care about anything else and used her hands and feet to break free from the ropes. But before she could reach out to take out the hairpin, Xia Changchao started to gnaw on her body. It was as if he was crazy as he mumbled, "Who are you waiting for to save you? Could it be that Xia Jingxing who died?" Shen Miao managed to take out the hairpin with much difficulty. Xia Changchao's back was facing her and his face was buried in Shen Miao's neck as he was about to tear off her clothes. Shen Miao's eyes were cold as she raised her hand and was about to stab at his back. But when her peripheral vision swept to the door, she suddenly stopped. "Do you think that Xia Jingxing will come and save you?" Xia Changchao shouted, "That little bastard has already been skinned and beheaded. He died until not even his bones were left." A calm and restrained majestic voice sounded faintly in the empty secret room. "Is it?" Chapter 560. Really? A male's low and deep voice sounded in the spacious secret chamber. This voice was very calm and could even be said to be pleasing to the ears, but at this moment, it seemed to have a power that made one's heart palpitate, making one's hair stand on end. Xia Changchao was surprised for a moment and let go of Shen Miao in a lightning speed before turning his head to look at the incoming person. There were bull horns hanging on the walls of the secret chamber, and torches were placed in the horns. The burning torches were bright, and the dim secret chamber seemed to be divided into two parts. The person on the other side was standing in the dark, and with the dim light from the torches, his appearance could be vaguely seen. It was a young man with an extremely tall and straight stature. He wore a dark-colored cloak made of embroidered rat fur, revealing a violet gold brocade robe, deerskin green boots, and a dark gold belt. Even in such a gloomy place, it didn't conceal his noble aura in the slightest. And he was wearing a half-silver mask on his face which clearly had an extremely cold color, but under the illumination of the torches in the secret chamber, there was some warmth that made one involuntarily attracted. Xia Changchao was sluggish for a moment before suddenly calling out, "Your Highness Prince Rui." He had seen this person at Ming Qi's tribute banquet and also met this person at the Crown Prince's Eastern Palace banquet. If the person wearing the half-silver mask was not Prince Rui of the Great Liang, who else could it be? But why would Prince Rui of the Great Liang suddenly appear in this place? Xia Changchao's heart suddenly sank as he asked, "How did you know of this place?" This was the secret chamber in the residence of the Marquis of Lineage, and even if Prince Rui had the ability to sneak in, he would definitely not be able to find this secret chamber. Xia Ding did not know anything about this secret chamber, and in the entire residence of the Marquis of Lineage, only Xia Changwu and Xia Changchao knew about it. Prince Rui of the Great Liang was an outsider, so how did he find this place? Xia Changwu would definitely not say it out. The moment Shen Miao saw Xia Jingxing appear, she was relieved and rejoiced in her heart. She could fight it out with Xia Changchao and might be able to think of other ways to escape, but there was always a chance. If anything bad happened, it would be more dangerous in the future. Xia Jingxing's appearance seemed to have omitted the word accident. "Speak. Why do you know that there is a secret chamber here?" Xia Changchao's heart suddenly had a strong uneasiness, and this kind of uneasiness was not because the other party was Prince Rui of the Great Liang. But it was an instinctive fear that came from the bottom of his heart. But only he and Xia Changwu knew about this secret chamber, and even his subordinates did not know about it. Today he came alone and it was too late to escape now. There is no place in the residence of the Marquis. The purple-robed youth slowly strode forward, moving from the darkness to the light. Under the illumination of the bright torch, the silver mask flickered with a dazzling luster. He curled his lips, but it was hard to tell if his smile was sarcastic or sincere. He slowly reached out to touch the mask on his face. Shen Miao was slightly startled. Xia Changchao swallowed his saliva and stared unblinkingly at the purple-clad youth in front of him. The silver mask was taken off. The light climbed up the young man's almost perfect face inch by inch. His facial features were so handsome that even the scorching sun would lose its color. His half-smile and mischievous expression were still the same. His pair of peach blossom eyes, after years of precipitation, had restrained the frivolity of his youth, giving birth to a bit of indifference and a bit of depth. However, like a small boat sailing on the dark starry night, looking down, his eyes were still bright. Compared to 2 years ago, Xie Jingxing was more handsome, more steady, more unfathomable, and more dangerous. It was Xie Jingxing who had his heart pierced by thousands of arrows on the battlefield and his skin was flayed and dried. In the history of Ming Qi, he had already become a Sai. Xie Changchao did not dare to believe his eyes. He shouted, Xie Jingxing! Xie Jingxing! Chapter 561. It is hard for you to still remember my name. Xie Jingxing walked forward with a smile, but the smile did not reach his eyes. Long time no see, Xie Changchao. Are you not dead? Fear started to appear on Xie Changchao's face as he spoke anxiously. Were you not pierced by tens of thousands of arrows in the northern border battlefield and skinned to dry in public, and died without a corpse remaining? Are you a human or a ghost? Do not come over. He spoke quickly and anxiously, as if this would be able to cover up the fear in his heart, as if he kept on saying the news of Xie Jingxing's death, those words would become a fact. Xie Jingxing said, Do you say that I am a human or a ghost? Xie Changchao was surprised. The youth in front of him was dressed in luxurious clothes and his posture was elegant to the bones. If one were to say that Xie Jingxing 2 years ago was a very gorgeous treasured sword, then now this treasured sword was finally unsheathed with a restrained killing intent, but no one could ignore the sharp edge of the blade. Xie Changchao's gaze landed on the silver mask in Xie Jingxing's hands and his heart moved. If Xie Jingxing was really a ghost, how could he still appear with the identity of Prince Rui? Xie Changchao remembered clearly that when the Xie Jingxing in front of him wore the mask, he was clearly the Great Liang's Prince Rui. No wonder he and Xie Changwu always felt that the Great Liang's Prince Rui was similar to a person but could not remember. Now thinking about it, there was no doubt that it was Xie Jingxing. It was just that the matter of Xie Jingxing dying on the battlefield 2 years ago was known by everyone and no one would link Prince Rui with a person who had died 2 years ago. One did not know that this person had long stolen the beam and replaced the pillar. Thinking about this, Xie Changchao suddenly sneered, so it was like this. So you did not die but ran to the Great Liang to seek shelter. One did not know what methods you used to become the Great Liang's Prince Rui. You faked your death to commit treason and are not fit to be a descendant of the Xie family. If father knew of this matter, he would definitely humiliate you. Eldest brother, this younger brother really admires you. Shen Miao had already retreated to a corner and was somewhat surprised when she heard that. She did not expect that Xie Changchao would think that Xie Jingxing had become a thief of Ming Qi and sought shelter in the Great Liang. But did not think that no matter how the Great Liang treated talented people, the identity of Emperor Yong Li's younger brother was not casually given to others. Sure enough, Xie Jingxing chuckled and his eyes turned cold. Do not mix your dirty blood with me. Xie Changchao, you are not qualified to be my brother. Xie Changchao smiled in disdain. Could it be that you think that with the identity of Prince Rui, you are really the younger brother of the Great Liang's Emperor Yonglu? Xie Jingxing, you have always thought that you are a cut above others but now you have learned to daydream. Xie Jingxing declined to comment. When Xie Changchao saw this, his expression slowly changed and he said, You are really Prince Rui of the Great Liang? So? Xie Jingxing stared at him. Did I tell you not to touch my things? Xie Changchao was startled. Ever since he and Xie Changwu were young, they hated Xie Jingxing. The servants of the residence of the Marquis of Lin and were originally old people who followed Princess Yuqing, and when they gathered together to talk, Xie Changchao heard that it was Madame Fang who forced Princess Yuqing to death. Xie Changchao did not know that Princess Yuqing, who died when they were born, but he hated Xie Jingxing. There was no other reason but because Xie Ding doted on Xie Jingxing for no reason. Xie Jingxing forever occupied the best things in the residence of the Marquis of linen, food, clothing and toys. No one dared to stop Xie Jingxing from doing anything, even if he committed a huge mistake, even if he beat a prince or a young master of a high-ranking official's family. Xie Ding would only personally apologize and treat Xie Jingxing lightly. There was a time when a tiger skin was sent over from the sea and was given to Xie Jingxing by Xie Ding. It was a very rare complete tiger skin. Xie Changchao and Xie Changwu were young and secretly went to Xie Jingxing's room to play with that tiger skin for an afternoon. Chapter 562. Afterwards, when Xie Jingxing returned, Xie Changchao would always remember Xie Jingxing's expression. Xie Jingxing looked at the fur that was crawled over by the Xie Changchao brothers and casually let the housekeeper take it and burn it. He said, "Do not touch my things. Dirty." Xie Ding scolded the two Xie brothers but did not scold Xie Jingxing, who made a big fuss over a minor issue. From that time onwards, Xie Changchao had an obsession with Xie Jingxing's things. It was the same for Shen Miao. So when he heard Xie Jingxing's words, he immediately laughed and looked at Shen Miao, who was at the corner, before saying maliciously, "Xie Jingxing, so what about it? I touched your woman and you want to be like in the past and burn her?" "I just touched her. Do you find it dirty?" Shen Miao's gaze was heavy. Xie Changchao indeed had the ability to make others want to kill him the moment he opened his mouth. Not to mention Xie Jingxing, who had a strong temperament, even with her good temper since her rebirth. She also wanted to drag Xie Changchao out and behead him. "She is not the same as the tiger skin." Xie Jingxing smiled gently. "That year the tiger skin was worthless in my eyes, so I burned it. Now." His eyes were cold and the words he said were gentle, but there was a biting chill. "I thought that you were too dirty, so it is better to burn you." Xie Changchao first smiled in disdain, but as he smiled, he saw Xie Jingxing's calm and unruffled expression and suddenly he could not smile anymore. Xie Changchao sat on the ground and took a step back. He resisted the fear in his heart and said, "What do you want to do?" "Xie Changchao, after so many years, you still did not make any progress." Xie Jingxing seemed to be somewhat disappointed with his reaction and sighed, "You have seen my face. Do you think that I will let you live?" Shen Miao actually felt that it was somewhat funny. Xie Changchao was like a child in front of Xie Jingxing, so it was no wonder that Xie Jingxing would feel disappointed. Early on, when Xie Jingxing took off his mask, Shen Miao was clear in her heart that Xie Changchao would not be able to walk out alive today. Xie Changchao's eyes revealed a deep fear as he said, "You do not dare. I am father's son and this is the residence of the Marquis of Linen. If you kill me, others will find out your identity and you will not have a good time. Do not worry." Xie Jingxing smiled gently. "Today the Marquis of Linen and Xie Changwu will attend the banquet and return at night. No one will discover your whereabouts," he said. "Seeing that you've called me big brother for so many years, I'll take care of you and won't leave you alone on the road to the Yellow Springs. Xie Changwu will come down to accompany you. There is no need to say thanks." Xie Changchao seemed to finally believe that Xie Jingxing was serious and stood up to run outside. But he was not Xie Jingxing's opponent 2 years ago, so how could he escape from Xie Jingxing's hands now? Before he could even see clearly, he was kicked in the knee from behind, and in the blink of an eye, his throat was stuck. Just as Shen Miao was looking, suddenly there was darkness in front of her and something was in front of her. When one reached out, it was Xie Jingxing's cloak. Xie Jingxing used the cloak to cover her head and said, "Don't look." The tone was gentle, but the other end was mercilessly tightening Xie Changchao's throat, and one could clearly hear the crisp sound of the bones in the secret chamber. With a dong sound, Shen Miao pulled the cloak off her head. Xie Jingxing had already used a handkerchief to wipe his hands and Xie Changchao was lying on the ground with his eyes wide open. It was obvious that he was no longer breathing. Xie Jingxing's moves were decisive and ruthless. It was the first time Shen Miao saw him kill, but seeing his calm expression, she could not help but sigh in her heart. She handed the cloak to Xia Jingxing, and when Xia Jingxing saw it, he swept a glance at her and turned his head away. Keep it for yourself. Chapter 563. Shen Miao followed his line of sight and discovered that when she was struggling with Xia Changchao, her clothes were torn by Xia Changchao. Now she was exposed and even the dudu could be seen. She was surprised for a moment and scolded Xia Changchao in her heart before covering herself with Xia Jingxing's cloak. Xia Jingxing's cloak was too big for her and the front buttons could not be buttoned up, thus Shen Miao could not do it for a long time. Xia Jingxing saw that she did not react for a long time and turned his head, just in time to see that Shen Miao was still doing the buttons of the cloak, so he walked over and squatted down in front of Shen Miao. He took out the belt from the collar of the cloak and tied it properly for Shen Miao. His hands were very good looking, the joints were clear and slender, and the action of tying the belt was dexterous and gentle, if one ignored his cold face. Shen Miao looked up at him. Xia Jingxing's eyelashes were extremely long and when they drooped down, his sharp eyes became soft, showing a rare gentleness. He was concentrating on tying the knot, but from the beginning to the end, he had a cold face, as if he was in a bad mood, but one did not know who had provoked him. After tying a strong bow knot, Xia Jingxing had yet to stand up when Shen Miao said, "Actually you do not need to kill him." She was talking about Xia Changchao. Xia Jingxing actually did not need to kill Xia Changchao, as what Xia Changchao said was right. Even though he was a Shu son, he was after all Xia Ding's son. Even though one did not know why Xia Jingxing stayed in Mingqi, but this would definitely bring him some unnecessary trouble. He saw my face, thus one cannot leave him alive. Xia Jingxing said. Shen Miao rolled her eyes in her heart. No one wanted to see Xia Jingxing's face, and from the beginning till now, it was Xia Jingxing who took the initiative to take off his mask. Xia Jingxing basically had the intention to kill Xia Changchao, so there was no need to find such a far-fetched reason. Go out less in the future. Xia Jingxing said, if I came any later, something would have happened to you today. When he said those words, he slightly frowned and had a cold face, with some appearance of inculcating. Shen Miao was speechless for a moment and thought for a moment before saying, how are my father, mother and eldest brother now? The entire Shen family's army was dispatched and searched from house to house in the Ding capital, but returned without any success. Xia Jingxing said, no one guessed that you are hiding in the residence of the Marquis of Lineage. Pausing, he then said, Luo Tan's injuries are very serious and she has been unconscious. Gao Yang had already gone to the Shen mansion to save her and one heard that the situation is not bad. Luo Tan is injured. Shen Miao was surprised for a moment, why is the injury so serious? A knife wound. Xia Jingxing turned his head and looked at Shen Miao, you do not know? Shen Miao shook her head, at that time I was knocked unconscious and brought onto the horse. I don't know what happened after that. After a moment of silence, Shen Miao suddenly thought of something and looked at Xia Jingxing. Luo Tan was injured and did not wake up, so how did you find this place? Xia Jingxing was somewhat puzzled, what do you mean? Shen Miao's heart moved. Luo Tan was seriously injured and unconscious, so naturally it was impossible for her to see Xia Jingxing, and it was also impossible for her to tell Xia Jingxing about what she entrusted to him. Then Xia Jingxing coming to save them was his own idea. Shen Miao's mood was somewhat complicated in a moment. It was Xia Jingxing's eyes that slightly flashed and he suddenly got close to Shen Miao. His hands were by Shen Miao's side, as if he was holding her in his embrace. He said with his lips raised, from your meaning, you let Luo Tan look for me? Ask me for help. Shen Miao pushed him away. She knew that Xia Jingxing was smart and could not hide it from him. She said, just felt that you have this ability and moreover your identity is much more convenient. She emphasized, I let Luo Tan look for you and it was a deal. When you rescue me, I will naturally pay the corresponding reward. Chapter 564. Payment? Xie Jingxing said in an unconcerned manner, the Shen family will offer 10,000 of gold, but I do not care as the great Liang treasury has a lot of it. What can you pay? Shen Miao gritted her teeth, as long as one does not devote one's body, naturally everything is possible. Xie Jingxing raised his brows as he looked at her and sighed, so you are thinking like this. Could it be that you are reminding me of the fact that you want to marry me? Women should be graceful and reserved. It's not good for you to be like this. Shen Miao could only respond with a sneer. Never mind. Xie Jingxing said, saving someone is a small matter to me and I will not make things difficult for you. The remuneration is simple. He stared at Shen Miao and said with a smile that was not a smile, write poems, play the qin, make pastries, and do needlework. For the time being, just these few. Shen Miao, she said, another one. This prince wants this. Xie Jingxing refused Shen Miao's words. He seemed to feel that the ground was a little cold and pulled Shen Miao up. Currently one cannot send you back to the Shen mansion. You have been missing for a total of 3 days and rumors are everywhere. If one were to return now, it would be hard to avoid suspicion. Xie Jingxing said, I will arrange for someone to send you to the princess residence. Rong Yi will help you. Shen Miao was startled and looked at Xie Jingxing before asking, Princess Rong Xian also know of your identity? Xie Jingxing shook his head, among the people of Mingqi, you are the only one. Shen Miao was silent. Xie Jingxing looked at Xie Changchao's corpse on the ground and a trace of disgust flashed in his eyes before he suddenly said, but today in order to save you, I made a move to kill and inevitably cause trouble. This happened because of you. From now on, we're in the same boat. You're my ally. Do you understand? I did not seem to agree. Shen Miao was flustered. It's enough that I agree. Xie Jingxing said cheerfully. He snapped his fingers and 2 men dressed in black walked in. Move it back. Xie Jingxing used his feet to touch Xie Changchao's body. Shen Miao was surprised, what do you want his corpse for? Xie Jingxing raised his eyebrows, there is a great use. Tai Yi and Nan Qi carried Xie Changchao's corpse out. It was also fortunate that Xie Changwu and his brother had built such a secret chamber that even the servants in the residence of the Marquis of Lineage did not know that there was a tunnel dug in the secret chamber and one could directly go outside. It was much easier to walk. It had been a long time since a guest came to the princess mansion. Ever since the news of Xie Jingxing's death on the battlefield spread, Princess Rong Xian fell seriously ill and after recovering, it seemed that the illness had taken root and she rarely attended imperial family events. He left the princess mansion less and less often, and even when people came to visit, he refused to see them. Everyone knew that this was because Xie Jingxing was dead. Princess Rong Xian did not have any sons in her entire life and only treated this nephew as her own son. Originally when Xie Jingxing was alive, he would visit the princess residence every few days, but after Xie Jingxing died in battle and Princess Rong Xian had such a strange temper, it was almost deserted. But today, there was a guest in the princess's mansion. The maid that was sweeping outside was an old servant in the princess residence, and with one look she could tell that the young lady sitting in the carriage had come to the princess residence 2 years ago. At that time Princess Rong Xian had warmly received her, and was called Shen something. That maid could not remember clearly. But the person who reported did not have to wait for long before he saw Princess Rong Xian's personal female official rushing out and welcoming the female guest and the guards by her side. When the remaining few maids who were sweeping saw this, they gathered together and whispered, which family's young lady is that? The princess had not seen any guests in these 2 years and actually saw one today. Looking at that appearance, it seemed that she could not wait. Most likely she had some friendship with the princess in the past. It is rare to see such a person. Chapter 565. 2 years ago she also came over. At that time Shi Gugu, who was by the princess's side, also sent her back to the residence. She is surnamed Shen. The maid at the outermost, who was trying to recall, suddenly had a flash of inspiration and slapped her head. I remember that young lady's name. That young lady is not the daughter of the formidable great general, Shen Miao. Everyone was first enlightened before their eyes became very interesting. They naturally recognized Shen Miao. Recently there was an uproar in the Ding capital. She had disappeared for 3 days and Shen Xian was even willing to offer 10,000 taels of gold to save her. Everyone guessed that Shen Miao had met with an accident and did not think that the main topic of discussion would actually appear in the princess residence. What was Shen Miao doing in the princess residence? Shen Miao sat in the main hall and the maids came over to serve her tea and snacks, but at the end she could feel some eyes that were quietly sizing her up. Shen Miao calmly accepted it. If someone recognized her, they would naturally find it strange that she would appear in the princess residence. But there was no choice. Just like what Xie Jingxing said, she had returned to the residence alone and could not stop the rumors from happening. One had to find a person of high status and power to prove it for her. The last Lantern Festival, Princess Rong Xian had proven it for her, and this time she still needed Princess Rong Xian's help. There was no choice. Princess Rong Xian was an upright person and everyone knew that she was fair to the point of being unreasonable. If it was said from Princess Rong Xian's mouth, no one would doubt it. After a moment, footsteps were heard from behind. Shen Miao turned around and saw Princess Rong Xian, who was being supported by a female official, walking over slowly. Shen Miao could not help but be surprised. The person who came was wearing an autumn-colored robe with a cloak on the outside. Most likely there was some powder on her face, but it could not hide her old age and haggard look. The last time Shen Miao saw Princess Rong Xian 2 years ago, she was still an energetic woman, but now it was as if her soul was taken away in one night, making one's heart feel a little sad when looking at her. Even in the previous lifetime, when Shen Miao reached the end, when Princess Rong Xian had really aged, she did not have such a haggard look. And Shen Miao was well aware of the reason for all of this. It seemed that the news of Xie Jingxing's death was a huge blow to Princess Rong Xian, that she had become this haggard in 2 years. She got up and greeted Princess Rong Xian. When Princess Rong Xian saw her, she revealed a nostalgic expression and there was a smile on her lips. Not seeing you for 2 years. At that time General Shen left in a hurry and Ben Gong did not have the time to let people send you some farewell gifts. When you returned to the capital, Ben Gong caught a cold and did not attend the tribute banquet, thus there was no chance to see you. She sat down in front of the table and indicated for Shen Miao to sit down. Shen Miao nodded her head slightly. It should be this official's daughter who came to visit. Previously I knew that you are good looking. Princess Rong Xian smiled as she looked at her. Seeing you now, it is what Ben Gong's heart thought. Since young you are a beauty and now you are more outstanding. If this consort's nephew was still alive. Her voice slowly trailed off and a trace of pain flashed through her eyes, but she couldn't continue. Shen Miao also did not know what to say. It was Princess Rong Xian who started laughing again. Ben Gong always say such unhappy words. Every time, he would tell himself not to think about it, but in the end, he would always think about it. Who told you to be unhappy with this consort? You are also sad. Ben Gong only cared about my own sadness and did not think about how you would feel after hearing it. It is really Ben Gong's fault. Princess Rong Xian was such a tough person in her bones, but she actually apologized to others. Shen Miao's heart was somewhat surprised, but there was even more sympathy. Xie Jingxing's identity could not be explained to Princess Rong Xian, but from Princess Rong Xian's point of view, the nephew that accompanied her for so many years died so miserably on the battlefield, one could imagine the pain in her heart. Princess Rong Xian smiled. Ben Gong have heard of your matters. Do not worry, 2 years ago Ben Gong helped you, this time Ben Gong will naturally help you. Shen Miao only said that she was kidnapped by criminals, but because of the conflict with the residents of the Marquis of Lineage, she was saved by Xie Jingxing's original secret guard. Because Xie Jingxing's secret guard had seen Shen Miao before, he extended a helping hand, but if one were to return to the Shen family rashly, it would cause rumors, thus one had to ask Princess Rong Xian to come forward. As long as Xie Jingxing was mentioned, Princess Rong Xian would be exceptionally tolerant. In addition, that so-called secret guard of Xie Jingxing really had the token that Xie Jingxing gave him, so after Princess Rong Xian personally saw it, she no longer had any doubts. In addition, she had a good impression of Shen Miao, so naturally she readily agreed to help. "This official's daughter thanks your Princess Highness." Shen Miao said, "This official's daughter is really ashamed to trouble your Princess Highness every time." "What kind of trouble is this?" Princess Rong Xian smiled bitterly. Originally when Jing Xing was around, whenever one made a mistake, one would like to go to the princess residence. Which time the trouble was not bigger than the heavens, but one did not see him feel a trace of guilt. Originally one thought that Ben Gong would treat it as doing a good deed, and when Ben Gong is old, it would be Ben Gong's turn to find trouble for him. Who knew? Princess Rong Xian's smile was somewhat ugly. Now I would like him to find trouble for Ben Gong, but one cannot wait any longer. Chapter 566. Luo Tan woke up once in the night. Coincidentally, Shen Xian and entourage were searching for Shen Miao's whereabouts in the Ding capital, and Luo Ling was in the residence looking after Luo Tan and Gao Yang when he suddenly received a report from his subordinates that there seemed to be suspicious people moving around in the western part of the city. Luo Ling thought of Shen Miao and entrusted Luo Tan to Gao Yang as he brought his subordinates to the western part of the city. Only Luo Tan and Gao Yang were left in the room. When Luo Tan woke up, there were only two maids in the room taking care of her, and it was Shen Miao's Bai Lu and Shuang Jiang. Seeing that she was awake, they were pleasantly surprised and said, "Biao young lady is finally awake." Luo Tan felt that her body was a little heavy. Lifting the quilt, she saw that there was actually a white cloth wrapped around the lower part of her clothes. When Bai Lu saw this, she thought that Luo Tan was worried that she would have a scar in the future and comforted, "Biao young lady is bound to have good fortune after surviving a great disaster." That day the wound was very serious and it scared Master and Furen badly. They had invited several doctors but none of them were able to do anything. It was still that imperial physician Gao in the palace who had superior medical skills. Not only that, Imperial physician Gao also left a prescription. As long as Biao young lady applies the medicine according to the prescription, the scar will be very light in the future and it will be almost invisible. Luo Tan rubbed her forehead and seemed to remember something. She asked, "How many days have I been unconscious?" Replying to young lady, "You have been unconscious for almost 3 days. Shuang Jiang said. 3 days? Luo Tan jumped in shock and suddenly thought of something. She asked anxiously, "What about youngest Biao's sister? Have you found Biao Mei?" Bai Lu and Shuang Jiang's expression dimmed as they shook their heads. Luo Tan's heart gradually sank. She said, "How are aunt and uncle now?" "The city is now sealed and Master and Furen have been running around all day searching for young lady's whereabouts but there is no news." Shuang Jiang said, "One do not know how is young lady now. It's already been 3 days. How come there's still no news after 3 days? It's not like those people know any demonic techniques. How can they make people disappear?" Luo Tan said excitedly. Bai Lu and Shuang Jiang looked at each other in dismay but could only lower their heads and not speak. Luo Tan clenched her fists tightly and was extremely anxious in her heart. At that time she remembered seeing with her own eyes that the two villains knocked Shen Miao unconscious and brought her into the carriage. Then Luo Tan's heart moved and suddenly remembered the words that Shen Miao said to her in the carriage. "Remember, if you successfully escape, think of a way to send a letter to Prince Rui's residence. Just say that there's something to trade and the price will be discussed later. Remember, after you successfully escape, find a way to send a letter to the residence." Even though Luo Tan also did not understand how Shin Miao and Prince Rui of the Great Liang would have a friendship in private, but in the 2 years in the Shaochun city, Luo Tan was clear of Shin Miao's temperament and would not do unnecessary things. She stood up and wanted to walk out when Bai Lu and Shuang Jiang jumped in shock and quickly came over to support her. What is Biao young lady trying to do? We servants will do it. Young lady Biao's body has not recovered yet. Don't let the wound open again. When Luo Tan stood up, she felt a burst of weakness in her body. It was probably because she had been lying on the bed for too long that her legs and feet were soft. This made her, who had always felt that she was strong, a little angry. However, she said, I have some things to do, don't worry about me. Before he finished speaking, he heard an unfamiliar male voice from outside. Where are you going? Luo Tan raised her head and saw a young man walking in from outside the house. This man was dressed in white and had the appearance of an elegant young master. He was also quite good-looking. He bent down and casually placed it on a small table. He took out a fan from his waist and waved it gently. He asked again, where are you going? Luo Tan frowned. Who is he? Chapter 567. Shuang Jiang quickly said, this is Imperial Physician Gao from the palace and it was he who treated Biao young lady. Now he is staying in our Shin mansion and it is convenient to change Biao young lady's medicine. Luo Tan frowned. Even though Luo Tan was somewhat masculine and lacked the delicateness of a female, she was the same as thousands of females and loved good-looking things. Previously in the Shaochun city, there would occasionally be a handsome young man on the stage and Luo Tan would pull Shin Miao to reward that young man, which showed that Luo Tan attached great importance to a male's appearance. If it was on normal days, Luo Tan would most likely speak nicely to such a handsome white-clad gentleman, but now her heart was filled with Shin Miao and even if she met a celestial being, she would not have the mood to appreciate it. She said, Physician Gao, I have an important matter to attend to. Gao Yang couldn't help choking for a bit. He had heard people call him Darren Gao, or Imperial Dr. Gao, but he had never heard anyone call him Dr. Gao. This made him feel like he was a doctor in the marketplace, the kind of barefoot doctor that would rush out with a medical box when someone came to ask for it. This was something that Gao Yang, who had always been picky and self-respecting, could not tolerate. He glanced at Luo Tan again. The young girl's skin was not as fair and delicate as the women in the capital. It was a healthy wheat color. Even though she was weak, standing there, she was like a plant full of vitality, giving off a refreshing feeling. She frowned as she stared at Gao Yang and her pretty facial features became even more three-dimensional. It was Gao Yang's first time seeing a person who was stabbed 3 days ago and could still be so lively after 3 days. Thinking of the first time he saw Luo Tan's frightening injury, Gao Yang could not help but exclaim in surprise. It was difficult for a normal male to persevere with that kind of injury, but Luo Tan, a young female, was able to persevere till she was discovered, thus her desire to live was very strong. Gao Yang considered himself to be a person who had tender and protective feelings for the fairer sex, but he did not like Shin Miao, that kind of scheming tigress, nor did he like Luo Tan, who was so strong and did not have the slightest tenderness of a female. He immediately said, General Shen and Shin Furen invited me to treat young lady and after this one treated young lady ran around causing the old illness to relapse. This one cannot take the hat of not being able to cure, so one request young lady not to casually walk around. Luo Tan was anxious, but she could only patiently explain to him, I have something important to do outside. I will personally tell little aunt and uncle that this matter has nothing to do with you. Is that okay? No. Gao Yang said, as an imperial physician, I have to be responsible for my patients. He emphasized the word, imperial physician, hoping that Luo Tan could understand that he was different from those doctors in the marketplace. Luo Tan didn't notice his emphasis, so she said angrily, you are a doctor, what right do you have to control me? Firstly, I am an imperial physician. Secondly, before brother Luo Ling left, he entrusted young lady to this one. If young lady really have something important on hand, this one can make a trip for young lady. There is no harm in young lady saying it. Luo Tan bit her lips. At that time Shen Miao told her that the matter of Prince Rui must not be told to others, and it was because Shen Miao trusted Luo Tan that she told Luo Tan about it. Luo Tan had always been stubborn, and in addition to Prince Rui's sensitive identity, she knew that no matter what outsiders must not know, even Shen Miao's maids would not know. She glared at Gao Yang. If young lady changes your mind, then it is better to drink the medicine first. After drinking the medicine, young lady's body will be better and naturally be able to handle the important matters. Gao Yang said with a smile. Luo Tan asked Bai Lu to bring a bowl of medicine and drank it all in one breath with a gudong gudong sound. She had a heroic appearance, and when she finished drinking, she placed the bowl of medicine down with a peng sound and said to Gao Yang, "Is this enough?" Chapter 568. This one admires. Gao Yang cupped his hands towards Luo Tan. Good medicine was bitter, and since it was brewed for Luo Tan, with Luo Tan's serious injuries, that medicinal concoction was unspeakably bitter that one would feel uncomfortable just by smelling it. Luo Tan's expression did not change as she drank it down, and one had to praise what an unyielding man. Luo Tan said, "I want to rest and trouble Dr. Gao to leave early. Bai Lu and Shuang Jiang should also leave. I cannot sleep with others in the room. It is so noisy." Gao Yang went out with the two maids with a smile on his face. After everyone left, Luo Tan stood up and ran to the window to look out. Bai Lu and Shuang Jiang were sweeping the courtyard at the other end. She quickly took out her outer clothes and cloak from the room and put them on in a few moments. After thinking about it, she took the few bottles of medicine on the table and put them in her sleeves before moving a stool out of the room and placed it in front of the window and started to climb out. Regarding the matter of sneaking out of the residence to play, Luo Tan and Luo Qian, the siblings, had mastered it to perfection when they were in the Shaochun city. At the end, even if Luo Yantai locked both of them in the room, Luo Tan and Luo Qian would still sneak out and do whatever they needed to do. So Luo Tan really did not put it in her heart when she was locked in the Shen mansion. The most urgent matter was to quickly go to the residence of Prince Rui to find Prince Rui. Luo Tan believed Shen Miao's words without a doubt and felt that as long as she could find Prince Rui, she would definitely be able to save Shen Miao. It was just that the wound on her waist had not healed and a slight movement would cause pain. Luo Tan could not care about it at this moment as she pressed on the wound and successfully climbed out of the window. At the other end, she familiarly found the corner of the courtyard and pushed aside the weeds by the wall to reveal a dog's hole before entering it without any burden. Luo Tan did all of this with ease and did not see the white figure standing far away, looking at her actions dumbfoundedly. Gao Yang simply could not believe his own eyes. Even if the Luo family was a military family, even if the Shaochun city's people were valiant, even if Luo Tan was an official's young lady, it would be hard for her to think of jumping out of the window and going through the dog's hole. Gao Yang thought that in Mingqi, Shen Miao was already considered a weirdo, but he did not expect that Shen Miao's Biao older sister would not be outdone. Indeed, it was a family that would not enter the same door. He shook his head but still followed. Luo Tan was going crazy. When she went out, she was afraid of alerting others, so she could not bring the Shen mansion's carriage, and after coming out, it was not good to find another carriage, so she could only walk over by herself. Even though the distance between the residence of Prince Rui and the Shen mansion was not far, but for someone like her who had just climbed back from the line of life and death, it was too far. However, Luo Tan did not give up. The willpower of the descendants of the Luo family was always a joke. Even the usually cheerful Luo Qian, when it came to serious moments, he could still hold on for a while. Since young, Luo Sui had taught the younger generation to never give up. Therefore, although Luo Tan felt dizzy and walked with difficulty, she never thought of giving up halfway. Gao Yang watched from afar. He was originally waving his folding fan as if he was watching a show, but in the end, he could no longer wave his fan. The girl's entire body was wrapped in a cloak. Others couldn't see her clearly, but he could see her clearly. Luo Tan couldn't stop trembling. Every 2 steps, she had to stop and rest for a while. No one knew the severity of Luo Tan's injuries other than Gao Yang. Just now in the Shen mansion, even though there was a deliberate intention to tease, but what Gao Yang said was not wrong. Luo Tan's injuries were very easy to split open, and if the injuries were to be pulled, it would definitely be very painful. He could almost guess the beads of sweat that kept appearing on Luo Tan's forehead. But what was surprising was that even if it was like this, Luo Tan did not stop. Every time Gao Yang thought that Luo Tan would stop for a long time because she was not prepared to move forward, Luo Tan would continue. This made Gao Yang very curious as he wanted to see what Luo Tan was trying to do by not caring about her own safety and crawling out. Chapter 569. This short journey seemed especially long, and Luo Tan missed the time when she was able to jump around. When the 3 words "residence of Prince Rui" entered her eyes, her legs softened and she almost knelt down. In the end she did not kneel down because there was a pair of hands behind her that helped her up. Luo Tan turned her head and saw that Physician Gao, with his white robes and paper fan, was helping her to stand up. "You followed me?" Luo Tan shook off his hand and said angrily. "Oh." Gao Yang readily admitted and asked, "You suffered untold hardships just to come to the residence of Prince Rui. Why are you looking for Prince Rui?" Gao Yang had more or less guessed Luo Tan's intention. He had never heard Xia Jingxing talk about Luo Tan before, so the only connection between Xia Jingxing and Luo Tan was Shen Miao. Luo Tan came to look for Xia Jingxing for Shen Miao, and most likely it was because of Shen Miao's whereabouts. Luo Tan looked at Gao Yang in front of her vigilantly, and her heart was very anxious. She did not think that she would meet Gao Yang at this time and was half frustrated and half angry. This person looked like a decent person but would actually do such a shady thing like following others. She was angry that her body was weak, otherwise how could she not discover that someone was following behind her? However, Luo Tan did not think that with Gao Yang's ability, even if her body was completely healed, she would not be able to discover Gao Yang's traces. Luo Tan calculated in her heart that the relationship between Shen Miao and Prince Rui must not be known by others. Moreover, this person came from the palace. What if he went back and reported it to Emperor Wen Hui, and caused trouble? One had to say that even though Luo Tan was usually careless, she thought long-term about some matters. "Do you know Prince Rui?" Gao Yang asked her. "How could I know Prince Rui?" Luo Tan retorted resolutely, "His Highness Prince Rui is noble and I am just an ordinary official's daughter." "How could I know him?" "Then why did you come to look for him?" Gao Yang did not let it go. Luo Tan stuttered, because. Her eyes glanced at Gao Yang's face and suddenly an idea came to her mind and she said loudly, "I heard the rumors in the capital that His Highness Prince Rui is a peerlessly beautiful male, so I wanted to see his beautiful face." She did not study well and her idioms were messed up, and she even said the words peerlessly beautiful face. When Gao Yang heard this, he burst out laughing. "What are you laughing at? Just to catch a glimpse of a beautiful face, you disregarded your health and dragged your sick body to come here." "Just to catch a glimpse of a beautiful face?" Gao Yang asked. Luo Tan retorted, "What do you know? It's hard to find a good-looking person in this world. Even if there is one, a single glance is precious." Gao Yang shook his head. "I'm also very good-looking. Why don't you look at me? Why did you have to come here?" Luo Tan said, "Dr. Gao, it is important to know oneself." She said, "I will not talk to you anymore. I need to go and see His Highness Prince Rui." As she spoke, she went up the steps and arrived at the entrance of the residence of Prince Rui before innocently saying, "Trouble both of you to inform that I have an important matter to see His Highness Prince Rui." Gao Yang followed closely behind and gave the 2 guards a look. The guards naturally recognized Gao Yang, so they didn't say anything and opened the door. One of them said, "I'll bring the 2 of you inside to wait." Luo Tan looked at Gao Yang. What are you doing here? Gao Yang said, I also want to see your beautiful face. If young lady does not allow me to enter, then this one can only return to the Shin mansion. If Shin Furen and General Shin return and ask. Wait. Luo Tan interrupted his words and glared at him hatefully, follow me in. The two guards looked at each other in dismay and were somewhat unable to make heads or tails of the situation in front of them. Originally they thought that Gentleman Gao brought a young lady to the residence of Prince Rui. Looking at it now, it seemed that young lady came to the residence of Prince Rui and brought Gentleman Gao. Chapter 570. Gao Yang and Luo Tan waited for a moment in the main hall, and after half an incense stick of time, His Highness Prince Rui, who was wearing a mask, appeared. Luo Tan's heart was anxious. If it was in the past, this was the first time she had such close contact with Prince Rui, she would definitely open her eyes wide to see what kind of person Prince Rui was. However, the current situation did not wait for anyone. Every moment they waited, Shen Miao would be in more danger. She took a look at Gao Yang, who was still drinking tea, and said to Prince Rui, May Your Highness Prince Rui step aside for a moment to speak. As Luo Tan waited nervously, Prince Rui nodded his head slightly. Luo Tan was secretly delighted in her heart, thinking that this Prince Rui was not as unapproachable as the rumors. After entering the isolated world, Luo Tan knelt down without a second word and said, pleading Your Highness Prince Rui to save my youngest Biao sister. She repeated what Shin Miao had taught her and finally said, since youngest Biao's sister believes in His Highness Prince Rui, this official's daughter also believes that His Highness Prince Rui will definitely be able to save youngest Biao's sister. Even though this official's daughter was unable to take out anything at the moment, if youngest Biao's sister was found, the Shin family would definitely reward Prince Rui. I beg Your Highness Prince Rui to save me. She kowtowed to the ground. Although Luo Tan also had pride in her bones, it was different from other people who would rather die than kneel to outsiders. Luo Tan was an honest person, and from her point of view, Prince Rui was after all part of the imperial family of the Great Liang, and it would not be a loss to kowtow. If one were to say some nice words to make him happy and save Shin Miao, then what was there to mind doing all these? She kowtowed happily, but she didn't notice that her actions seemed to have startled the man. I understand. Prince Rui said. Luo Tan felt a little strange, but she couldn't tell what it was. She subconsciously said, Does Your Highness Prince Rui agree to rescue this official's daughter's youngest Biao sister? Prince Rui lightly nodded his head. Many thanks, Your Highness Prince Rui. Luo Tan kowtowed to him joyfully and was about to stand up. Who knew that as soon as he stood up, his vision would go black and he would suddenly fall down. He had actually fainted. Prince Rui jumped in shock and subconsciously reached out to scoop as he called out, Someone come. Gao Yang. Gao Yang came in from outside and was shocked at first. He quickly stepped forward and grabbed Luo Tan's arm to check her pulse. After a while, he put down his hand and sighed, Her body is too weak. Make a bowl of ginseng soup for her, and when she wakes up, I will send her back to the Shin mansion. Two maids came in from outside and carried the fainted Luo Tan to the bed. When Gao Yang and Prince Rui walked out of the room, Prince Rui snorted and suddenly lifted the silver mask on his face, I am suffocated to death. Why do you want me to pretend to be third older brother? This person was not Xie Jingxing but Ji Yushu. One do not know when he will return, and one cannot let Luo Tan stay in the residence of Prince Rui until the sky turns dark. At that time, when the Shin family comes knocking on the door, it would be hard to explain. Anyway, third Xia has already gone to inquire about Shin Miao's whereabouts, so you just need to pretend to deal with it and let her leave earlier. Gao Yang said. Ji Yushu waved his hands, I cannot take it if it happens a few more times. This is the first time in my life that someone knelt down and kowtowed to me. I am not a bodhisattva, so would this shorten my lifespan? This girl really is a bit too fierce. When she knelt just now, my heart almost jumped out of my chest. Fortunately, I didn't make any mistakes. Otherwise, If third brother knew that I ruined his appearance, he would definitely beat me up. Gao Yang said, fortunately she is stupid. You are saying that I did not pretend to look like it? Ji Yushu said angrily, I pretended that the person kowtowed to me. How is it not like it? Gao Yang waved his hands, I am too lazy to talk to you. But why did she call you Physician Gao? Ji Yushu said suspiciously, you are no longer in the palace and have changed to a physician. Gao Yang. Chapter 571. When Luo Tan woke up, it was already evening. When she woke up, Gao Yang happened to come over to give her medicine. Luo Tan did not stand on ceremony as she took the medicine and gulped it down with a gudong gudong sound. Gao Yang's mouth twitched at the sight of this heroine who was not inferior to any man. After drinking the medicine, Luo Tan wiped her mouth and looked at the gradually darkening sky outside the window. I have to return. Where is His Highness Prince Rui? I will go and thank him. Gao Yang looked at her sideways, no need. Prince Rui had already left. If you want to thank him, it might be after tomorrow. Luo Tan was stunned at first, but then she was overjoyed. Thinking that Prince Rui had left so quickly, he must have gone to save Shin Miao. He had just told him about the matter and he took action so quickly. It seemed that Prince Rui was also a kind-hearted person. Thinking about it, Luo Tan's impression of Prince Rui in her heart went up a level. Gao Yang looked at the suddenly happy Luo Tan and said, since that's the case, let's pack up and leave. All right. Luo Tan happily got up from the bed and put on her shoes. She suddenly thought of something and asked, are you coming back with me? Naturally. Gao Yang said, if not for General and Madam strongly urging me to stay, this one wouldn't want to either. There are still many noble ladies in the palace waiting for me to treat them. Gao Yang emphasized. Luo Tan looked at him with some sympathy, Dr. Gao has been working too hard all day. If that's the case, you should hurry back to the palace. It won't be good if your work is delayed and your money is deducted. Gao Yang, why did Luo Tan always say that being an imperial physician was a job that everyone could do? And he didn't even have any status? Gao Yang was puzzled. He gritted his teeth and said, there is no need. I have already asked for leave from the Imperial Academy of Medicine. Luo Tan made a sound of eh. She turned her head and rolled her eyes, hiding the disdain in her eyes. As a man, he was quite handsome, but when he had nothing better to do, he went to follow a maiden and even lustfully wanted to see Prince Ding's beautiful face. No matter how good his medical skills were, he had no medical ethics. Shameless. Sick in the head. No matter what, at the end Gao Yang still followed Luo Tan back to the Shin mansion. On the way back, out of fear that Luo Tan's wound would worsen, Gao Yang found a horse carriage. Returning to the Shin residence, Shin Xian and entourage had all returned. Seeing the two of them return, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Shin Qiu asked, Biao younger sister, Imperial Physician Gao, where are you all going? Everyone thought that Luo Tan was kidnapped again and Shin Qiu even suspected that Gao Yang was a spy from somewhere and that it was Gao Yang who kidnapped Luo Tan. Yes, Tan, you haven't recovered yet. Where did you go? Luo Tan's expression stiffened. The matter of Shin Miao and Prince Rui could not be said no matter what, so one had to find an excuse to muddle through. She stammered, I was the one who brought her out. Gao Yang cupped his hands in obeisance and said, Miss Luo's body has not recovered yet, but being cooped up in the house all day, her mood is gloomy and it is not beneficial for her recovery. I will take her out for a walk, it will help Miss Luo's wounds recover faster. Hearing that, Luo Shuiyan's suspicions then disappeared but there was still some complaint in her words as she said to Gao Yang, Imperial Physician Gao has good intentions but if it were to happen again, it is better to inform the servants. Tanner did not bring a single maid with her and we thought that something happened to her. Gao Yang blushed and said, it is this one who did not consider it thoroughly and apologized to Furen. Never mind, never mind. Luo Shuiyan waved her hands. Luo Tan's heart was relieved. Even though her gaze towards Gao Yang was not warm, it was better than before. Gao Yang took the blame for her and Luo Tan's heart was grateful. The Luo family paid particular attention to gratitude and Luo Tan thought that she would give Gao Yang more consultation fees and not haggle over the previous matter. But why do I not see older brother Ling? Luo Tan stretched her neck and looked around. Shen Xian, Luo Shuiyan and Shen Qiu were all here but Luo Ling was missing. You are not together? Shen Xian asked with a frown. Luo Tan shook her head. Then that is strange. Luo Shuiyan also said, today before going out, I let Ling look after you and did not see any of you after returning, so one thought that you all went out together. Only you and Imperial Physician Gao. Luo Tan nodded her head. Did younger Biao brother go out to buy things? Shen Qiu asked, even if he went out to look for someone, it is already late so he should be back. In order to exchange information, the Shen family would return to the Shen mansion in the evening to narrate the results of today's search. Even if Luo Ling himself went out to look for someone, he should be back by now. Could it be that he found her? Luo Tan's heart moved. Could it be that older brother Ling had found youngest Biao's sister, so he came back late? Shen Qiu and Luo Shuiyan were surprised for a moment before a look of joy appeared on their faces. It would be good if it was like this. But just at this moment, a flustered voice was heard from outside, not good. Not good. Everyone looked over and the person who came was Luo Ling's subordinate. He was covered in blood as he said, not good. Something has happened to young Master Ling. Chapter 572. Not good. Something has happened to young Master Ling. Everyone hurriedly walked out and saw someone supporting Luo Ling in. Luo Ling's right hand was full of fresh blood and it was a ghastly sight. Older brother Ling. Luo Tan jumped in shock and saw that Luo Ling was being supported by someone. Even though he tried his best to endure the pain, his face was very pale and big drops of sweat rolled down from his forehead. Imperial Physician Gao. Luo Shuiyan quickly said, trouble you to take a look at Luo Ling. Gao Yang had a helpless expression on his face. He originally thought that Luo Tan would be able to jump around now and his task would be completed. One did not think that there would be another difficult to treat one. Could it be that they really treated him as a sitting physician? Even though he thought so in his heart, he did not show it on his face. Gao Yang said, help him into the room. I will take a look at him. When Luo Ling and Gao Yang entered the bedroom, Shen Xian angrily said to the subordinate who helped Luo Ling back, what exactly happened? How did Linger get such a serious injury without rhyme or reason? That subordinate was almost about to cry. A group of us received a tip-off that someone seemed to have seen young Lady Shen's whereabouts. Young Master Ling brought us along to look for her and later someone sent a note, asking young Master Ling to go alone. Who knew that it was a trap? Those people seemed to be planning to scheme against young Master Qiu but did not expect that it was young Master Ling who came. Young Master Ling fought with them and those people launched a sneak attack and injured young Master Ling's right hand. That subordinate paused and revealed a worried expression. Young Master Ling had injured his right hand once when he was training his troops in the early years and it was considered to have healed. But today the knife wound was on top of the old injury and young Master Ling immediately did not feel well. Afterwards when our people rushed over, young Master Ling was like this. Luo Shuiyan and Shen Xian did not know that Luo Ling's right hand was injured before and when they heard it, they looked at Luo Tan and asked, Linger was injured before? Luo Tan nodded her head. When one was young, one went hunting with eldest Bo and was chased by wild beasts in the mountains and fell down the mountain. Coincidentally his hand was scratched by a sharp stone. The injury was very serious and at that time all the doctors said that older brother Ling's hand would not be able to be saved. One did not think that older brother Ling was able to pull through. Everyone was aware of the seriousness of the matter. If Luo Ling had suffered such a serious injury in the past, now that he was injured, one feared that it would be even worse. Shen Qiu said, just who is scheming behind the scenes. Did you all see clearly who the other party is? The subordinate shook his head and said, those people's martial arts are very good, and they don't look like normal villains. Their martial arts are above young Master Ling's. There's something fishy about this. Shen Xian said in a deep voice, first it was Jiao Jiao, then it was Chou'er. It is obviously targeted at our entire Shen family. Damn it. If I don't find this person and skin him alive, my surname isn't Shen. Luo Tan said, the most important thing now is to take a look at Brother Ling's injuries. Luo Tan was a little anxious, his injuries are so serious. The atmosphere in the room suddenly became tense. After the time it took for a stick of incense to burn, Gao Yang came out of his bedroom and closed the door. Everyone looked at him eagerly. Luo Tan couldn't wait to go forward and ask, Dr. Gao, how is Brother Ling? Gao Yang said, I've already applied medicine for him. It's a deep knife wound, and there's poison on it. Although it's not a fatal poison, and I've helped him detoxify it, but what? Shen Qiu asked. But young Master Luo's hand was injured in the early years, and this time it is a chronic illness. The injury is not light, and in the future when he recovers, one fear that he would not be able to use his right hand to lift heavy things. Luo Tan took 2 steps back and suddenly looked at Gao Yang, unable to lift heavy things. What about weapons? Gao Yang shook his head. Chapter 573. Luo Shuiyan accidentally broke the cup and Shen Xian and Shen Qiu sucked in a mouthful of cold air at the same time. Luo Ling was a child of a military family and this time Luo Sui let him follow Shen Xian back to the capital. It was to let him train in the Ding capital so that in the future when they return to the Shaochun city, it would be easier for him to take over the Luo family's army. Luo Ling also practiced martial arts since young and now to let a person who practiced martial arts since young to not be able to use his right hand, it was almost like crippling the other party's martial arts. To Luo Ling, it was a big blow. Impossible. Impossible. Luo Tan went forward and grabbed Gao Yang's sleeves as she said anxiously, previously when older brother Ling was injured, those physicians also said that older brother Ling could not use his right hand but later on older brother Ling recovered. Aren't you the best physician? When you saved me, didn't those physicians also said that I could not be saved? If you can save me, then you can definitely save my older brother Ling's right hand, right? Luo Tan and Luo Ling's relationship was very good and they grew up together so naturally she was unable to accept it. Gao Yang pulled back his sleeves and patiently said, Young Lady Luo, it is not that this one is not willing to save. It is because your older brother's injury is too serious. He said, to say something that would make young lady sad, this one say that one cannot treat, no one in this world can save. These words almost cut off everyone's last hope and also meant that in the future Luo Ling could no longer use his right hand to hold a sword. How can it be? Luo Shuiyan almost fainted, how can I explain to eldest brother and eldest Saw? Does younger Biao brother already know about his own injury? Shen Qiu asked. Gao Yang nodded his head and said, compared to young Master Luo's injury, this one think that it is better to concern young Master Luo's emotions these few days. But for a person who suffered such a sudden change, it is inevitable that his heart would be hurt, especially young Master Luo who is proud and arrogant. This matter to him is no different from a disaster and if one does not persuade him, one fear that it would attract unnecessary trouble and it would not be beneficial to the recovery of the injury. Finishing, Gao Yang picked up the medicine box at the side and said, this one need to make a trip back to the palace and need to prepare a few medicinal herbs. Later one will come back to the residence to perform acupuncture on young Master Luo. One will not stay any longer and bid one farewell. These few days Gao Yang had been staying in the Shen mansion and indeed he had not returned to the Imperial Hospital for a long time. Luo Shuiyan nodded her head. These days we have troubled Imperial Physician Gao. Chou'er, go send Imperial Physician Gao off. I'll go. Luo Tan said, then grabbed Gao Yang's sleeve and dragged him out of the mansion. Gao Yang glared at Luo Tan's slightly deformed sleeve. Luo Tan only stopped when they reached the entrance of the mansion. Luo Tan looked at him and hesitated for a moment before asking, "Dr. Gao, is my brother Ling's right hand really hopeless?" Gao Yang said helplessly, "I never lie." Luo Tan's expression showed some despair, and after a moment she said, "Since that is the case, thank you for helping me to cover up the matter in Prince Rui's residence." Cover up? Gao Yang looked at her in surprise. "When did I say that I would cover up for you?" Luo Tan stared at him, dumbfounded. "Did you lie for me in front of little aunt and uncle? I'm just pushing the boat along with the current. I'll discuss this matter with Miss Luo in detail when I think of the conditions of the transaction in the future." Gao Yang did not care about Luo Tan's sudden change in expression as he looked outside and said, "TSK, it is too late. This one must leave first. See you another day, Miss Luo." He cupped his hands and left. After calling him Dr. Luo so many times, if Luo Tan did not suffer a bit, Gao Yang would definitely not agree. Just as he thought about it, he heard a sound of grinding teeth behind him. "Have a safe journey, Dr. Gao." Gao Yang almost stumbled and fell. When Gao Yang's figure could no longer be seen, Luo Tan then sighed and prepared to return to the residence with a heavy heart, but saw a horse carriage rushing over from the other side. This horse carriage looked a little too gorgeous. Now that the sky was somewhat dark, Luo Tan could not see clearly. She only saw that the horse carriage stopped at the entrance of the Shen mansion and two people walked out. Chapter 574. Luo Tan rubbed her eyes, and after making sure that she did not see wrongly, she suddenly exclaimed, "Biao youngest sister." Shen Miao was sent back by Princess Rong Xian's personal female official, Lu Shi, and upon reaching the door, she first heard Luo Tan's shout. Previously, when she heard Xia Jingxing say that Luo Tan's injuries were extremely serious, Shen Miao was very worried in her heart, but upon hearing her shout, she was relieved. Luo Tan's shout directly alarmed Shen Xian and entourage inside. Everyone rushed over and were somewhat in disbelief when they saw Shen Miao. Luo Shuayan was stunned for 2 seconds before quickly stepping forward and hugging Shen Miao. Hot tears flowed down, "Jiao Jiao." As if he just reacted, Shen Qiu also quickly ran over and shouted excitedly, "Younger sister, you have finally returned." Shen Xian also wanted to go forward. Shen Miao swept a glance at the surroundings. Because it was already late in the evening and because of Shen Xian's search, most of the commoners did not go out at night, thus no one saw anyone coming over from the Shen mansion. Shen Miao said, "Let's return to the residence first before talking. In addition, do not make this matter known." Even though Shen Xian had some doubts, he also gave Shen Qiu a look. Shen Qiu quickly complied and went out to instruct the servants outside before the entourage entered the residence. When they reached the hall, Luo Tan asked, "Biao youngest sister, what is going on? And this person is?" She looked towards Lu Shi. Lu Shi bowed to everyone. After all, she was a female official by Princess Rong Xian's side. Her every move was in accordance with etiquette and did not look like an ordinary person. She said, "This servant is a female official by Her Princess Highness's side. The day before yesterday, Her Princess Highness's guards saved young Lady Shen from the hands of the evildoers. Her Princess Highness was afraid that young Lady Shen would not be able to explain clearly and let this servant send young Lady Shen off. Now that the person has been sent off, this servant should return." 2 years ago at the Lantern Festival, Shen Miao was saved by Princess Rong Xian once, and 2 years later she was saved by Princess Rong Xian again. If it was said to be a coincidence, it would make one think too much. Shen Xian and Luo Shuayan were somewhat puzzled and wanted to say something more when they saw Shen Miao standing up and smiling at Lu Shi. "Many thanks to Shi Gugu for these few days' matters. One hoped that Shi Gugu would help this official's daughter to thank Her Princess Highness. Shen Miao will remember your Princess Highness's life-saving grace and dare not forget it. In the future, I will definitely pay a visit to express my gratitude." Lu Shi quickly moved sideways to avoid Shen Miao's greeting and smiled, "One do not dare. Since young lady and her Princess Highness are old acquaintances, there is no need to stand on ceremony. This servant will return first. Young lady Shen, take good care of your body. Tomorrow, Her Highness Princess will explain to the capital governor." Shen Miao thanked again, and after sending off Lu Shi, everyone finally could not help it as Shen Qiu asked, "Younger sister, what exactly is going on?" Just now from the conversation between Shen Miao and Lu Shi, everyone could see that Shen Miao clearly already had her own idea. Shen Xian and Luo Shuayan now understood Shen Miao's character the best. Shen Miao was a young lady with big ideas and most likely already had other plans. Shen Miao smiled, "Nothing much. That day the person who kidnapped me actually implicated me in another matter and kidnapped the wrong person. Later, when they were about to send me out, they happened to meet the people from the princess's residence. The guards of the princess residence had seen me before, and they felt that something was wrong, so they saved me. Afterwards I explained the matter clearly to Princess Rong Xian, and her Princess Highness intended to help me clarify. She temporarily did not want to tell the matter to Shen Xian, because it involved Princess Ming'an. The Qin country and Ming Qi's current power was complicated, and if Shen Xian was not good, it would be hard for him to get away. She had painstakingly managed it, and it was not easy for the current Shen family to gradually move away from those messy whirlpools, so how could the same mistakes of the previous lifetime repeat? Most importantly, this excuse was something that she and Xie Jingxing had discussed before. Even though she did not know what Xie Jingxing would do at the end, but Shen Miao thought that with Xie Jingxing's means, Princess Ming'an and the Xie brothers would definitely suffer a big loss. Since it was like this, it would not be good for Shen Xian to intervene. Chapter 575. Shen Xian frowned, "Jiao Jiao, tell father honestly, does this matter have anything to do with Princess Ming'an?" Shen Miao's heart jumped. Shen Xian was not a fool. They had just returned to the Ding capital and those people deliberately abducted Shen Miao because of personal grudges. And from the time the Shen family returned to the Ding capital till now, if one were to talk about who they offended, it would most likely be that arrogant and despotic princess of the Qin country. If it was the Qin country's people, it was not that they would not do such a daring move. Shen Miao said, "What is father thinking about? This is Ming Qi's territory, and even if Princess Ming'an wanted to deal with me, the crown prince of the Qin country is not a fool. How would he let her stir up trouble at this juncture?" Seeing that Shen Xian and Luo Shuayan still did not believe, Shen Miao simply raised her arms and said in a sweet voice, "That day they threw me out of the horse carriage and my hands were in pain and my stomach was very hungry. Mother, I want to eat something." When Luo Shuayan heard this, she could not care about anything else and immediately felt extremely distressed. She instructed the kitchen to prepare some snacks and at the same time let the maid support Shen Miao back to the courtyard to rest. Most likely Luo Shuayan was distressed for Shen Miao, so she personally went to the kitchen to prepare some soup. Shen Xian frowned as he pulled Shen Qiu over to do something. Luo Tan and Shen Miao returned to the room together, and seeing Shen Miao sitting down on the couch, Luo Tan said, "Biao, youngest sister, you were lying just now. Actually it was that Duke Ming'an who took the initiative to do this, right?" Shen Miao's heart jumped as she thought, and did Luo Tan become smart and asked, "Why do you say so?" Luo Tan rubbed her arms and pretended to be unable to bear it. "Just now you acted coquettishly and really gave me a layer of goosebumps. You were clearly acting coquettishly, and with one look it was done perfunctorily to please Gufu and Gufu. It is because they dote on you that you diverted." Shen Miao laughed and sized up Luo Tan again. "I heard that you suffered a serious injury. Why did you get off the bed now and not recuperate?" Luo Tan waved her hands. "That Dr. Gao from the palace has brilliant medical skills and was able to revive the dead and regrow the bones. Speaking of which," she looked at Shen Miao with bright eyes, "this afternoon I just sought help from His Highness Prince Rui and begged him to save you. His Highness Prince Rui is indeed resourceful. This speed is unexpected, and I thought that I would have to wait for a few more days. So in fact that Lu Shigugu is also fake? Luo Tan sighed, this Prince Rui of the Great Liang is really thoughtful. Shen Miao, Xia Jingxing had already rescued Shen Miao before Luo Tan went to the residence of Prince Rui, so when Luo Tan went, one feared that Shen Miao was already in the princess residence. The pitiful Luo Tan really thought that Xia Jingxing had such a great ability. Xia Jingxing was not an immortal, how could he possibly save people in such a short time? Shen Miao secretly criticized in her heart but did not correct Luo Tan's words. She thought of something and said, but why haven't I seen Cousin Ling? She asked, did Cousin Ling go out? Luo Tan's happy expression instantly dimmed. When Shen Miao saw it, she was somewhat puzzled and asked, why do you have such an expression? Something happened to Cousin Ling. Luo Tan's voice was somewhat obscure. Gao Yang said that he would not be able to use his right hand in this lifetime. Go and take a look. In the residence of the Marquis of Linan, Xia Changwu was also very anxious. After returning from the banquet with Xia Ding, there was no trace of Xia Changchao. Not only was there no trace of Xia Changchao in the secret room, there was also no trace of Shen Miao. After looking carefully, there were no traces of fighting in the entire secret room, which made Xia Changwu feel even more puzzled. Even though it was because of Shen Xian that Shen Miao could not be sent out, but now the captives had indeed disappeared without a trace. Princess Ming'an sent someone over to ask when Shen Miao could be sent out, so Xia Changwu could only be perfunctory on the surface, but his heart was burning with anxiety. Chapter 576. However, no matter how he searched, even sending out people, even searching the places that Xia Changchao was most used to, Xia Changchao and Shen Miao seemed to have evaporated from the world. Not a single trace was left behind. He did not know why, but the longer time passed, the more uneasy Xia Changwu's heart became. He tried to inquire about the formidable great general Shen family's news, but there was no news of Shen Miao's whereabouts. This made Xia Changwu's heart slightly comforted, as at least it was not the people who came to save Shen Miao that took Xia Changwu away. But as time passed, even Xia Ding became suspicious and asked why Xia Changchao was not seen for a day. Xia Changwu could only say that Xia Changchao went out of the city to hunt with his friends, and when Madame Fang asked, she also said the same. Princess Ming'an had already sent people over to question, and if the Xia brothers did not take any action, then Shen Miao would be handed over to her to personally deal with. Xia Changwu had unspeakable bitterness in his heart, not to mention Shen Miao. Even Xia Changchao was nowhere to be seen. If Princess Ming'an knew about it, she would blame him for not doing things well, and not only would she not put in a good word for both of them in front of Fu Xiu-yi, one fear that they would suffer more. It was really a dilemma. For the first time, Xia Changwu regretted accepting such a hot potato. In any case, Xia Changwu had to send people to continue searching for Xia Changchao's whereabouts. Speaking of it, it was also ironic. A few days ago when they kidnapped Shen Miao, the Shen family searched the entire city for Shen Miao, and now it was Xia Changwu who searched the entire city for Xia Changchao's whereabouts, thus there was some retribution. Xia Changwu naturally did not know that the brother that he was searching for was now in Xia Jingxing's hands. Tai Yi followed behind the purple-robed youth and said, Xia Changchao's corpse is kept in the tower prison in an ice coffin. When will master use it? Leave it first, there is no rush. Xia Jingxing said, such a good thing, one cannot waste it. He slowly walked back to the residence and just entered the courtyard. He saw Ji Yushu wearing a purple robe and a silver mask on his face, chasing that white tiger called Jiao Jiao all over the house. As he chased, he said, little brat, do you not recognize who this prince is? Open your dog eyes wide and look carefully. Obediently come to this king. Tai Yi's face trembled non-stop. Sometimes one had to say that Ji Yushu was a talent. No matter where he was, he could still laugh and scold as if he was an idiot. This kind of thing of disguising as Xia Jingxing to tease a tiger, most likely only Ji Yushu who was so free. The white tiger was avoiding Ji Yushu's warm embrace, and when it suddenly saw Xia Jingxing and Tai Yi coming over, it turned around halfway and suddenly rushed towards Xia Jingxing and bit on the corner of Xia Jingxing's robe as it shook its head happily. Xia Jingxing bent over to carry the white tiger and looked at the remaining Xia Jingxing in the courtyard. He said with a smile that was not a smile, "Did you have fun while I was not around?" Xia 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 he xia. The fake Xia Jingxing took off his mask and revealed Ji Yushu's sweaty face. Ji Yushu panted as he waved his hands, "Third older brother, it is not that I deliberately want to impersonate you. Today a young lady came to look for you for help and Gao Yang wanted me to disguise as you. But I guarantee that my disguise was quite good. When that young lady saw me, she knelt down without a second word and even kowtowed to me." Ji Yushu felt wronged and worried. One do not know if one's life would be shortened. "Young lady." Xia Jingxing raised his brows and looked at Tai Yi. Tai Yi quickly said, "In the afternoon, Luo family's Biao young lady and gentleman Gao came over. At that time young Master Ji pretended to be you and agreed to Luo family's Biao young lady's request. Afterwards both of them left. Ji Yushu emphasized, it was Gao Yang who wanted me to do it." Just as he was speaking, he heard Tai Yi say, "Gentleman Gao is here." Chapter 577. One saw a white-clad person walking in from outside. If it was not Gao Yang, who else could it be? But one did not know if it was their misconception. Gao Yang's white clothes did not look as clean and new as before, and his face was somewhat haggard. In the afternoon, Ji Yushu was so busy being frightened by Luo Tan's kowtows that he did not look at Gao Yang's appearance carefully. Now that he saw it, he said in surprise, "Gao Yang, why do you look like you have aged by 10 years? Originally, when Gao Yang and Xia Jingxing stood together, even though he wasn't as handsome as Xia Jingxing, he was still considered an elegant young master. But now that he was standing beside Xia Jingxing, he had a somewhat dejected appearance. "Do not mention it." Gao Yang said, "These few days I have been in the Shen mansion helping to treat that young lady of the Luo family. Do you really think that I am a doctor?" As he said that, there was some indignation on his face. "I am not a doctor. I am an imperial physician. All treat others." Ji Yushu did not care about him and looked at Xia Jingxing, "Found fifth Shen young lady?" Xia Jingxing nodded his head. Ji Yushu gave a long sigh of relief, "Scared me to death. If such a good person like fifth Shen young lady were to be tricked by others, one fear that I would not be able to sleep well." Xia Jingxing looked at him coldly, "Oh. You are very familiar with Shen Miao." Ji Yushu instinctively sensed danger and shook his head subconsciously. He only felt that Xia Jingxing's gaze had a deeper meaning and quickly said, "Third older brother, do you not have friendship with her?" "I am not worried about her, I am worried about you. Now that you have rescued her, my heart is very comforted. One think that fifth Shen young lady would be very grateful to you." "Lackey," Gao Yang said in disdain. "None of your business," Ji Yushu retorted sarcastically. Gao Yang took a deep breath and changed into a serious expression as he asked Xia Jingxing, "Was it Princess Ming'an's hands?" In fact, in the Ding capital, other than Princess Ming'an, there was really no one else who had the guts to take action against Shen Miao. If others wanted to touch Shen Miao, they would have to weigh the Shen family. Everyone knew that Shen Xian doted on his daughter to the point of being obedient. To touch Shen Miao, it was no doubt plucking the tiger's hair, and there would be endless troubles. Only a brainless female like Princess Ming'an would not care about the consequences, but to be so daring, it really made one exclaim in admiration. Not only. Xia Jingxing said plainly, Xia Changwu and Xia Changchao also participated. Are they crazy? Gao Yang could not hide his astonishment. Even if Princess Ming'an promised benefits, how could Xia Changwu and Xia Changchao be willing to risk their lives? When people do things, they would have a scale in their heart and the risk and return would be balanced, but Xie Chang Chao and Xie Chang Wu's move was not worth it and Gao Yang was unable to understand. The two Xie brothers did not hesitate to become enemies with the Shen family in order to climb up, but they only cared about the present and did not think about the future. It's probably because he has lived a comfortable life for too long that he doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Xie Jingxing's smile was a little cold. An idiot who has been like this for 10 years. Gao Yang and Ji Yushu were silent. At this moment, they felt the chill that was emitted from Xie Jingxing's body. After silently mourning for the Xie brothers for a moment, Gao Yang opened his mouth. Actually this time when Princess Ming'an took action, it was not only Shen Miao. Xie Jingxing turned around and frowned. What do you mean? They also had the intention to scheme against Shen Qiu. Today in the Shen mansion, I heard that someone used Shen Miao's whereabouts to set a trap for Shen Qiu, and after Shen Qiu fell into the trap, they waited for an opportunity to take action against Shen Qiu. Those people's martial arts were very strong, and should be experts trained by the imperial court. After thinking about it, most likely it was Princess Ming'an's doing. Not only did they want to destroy Shen Miao, they also wanted to destroy Shen Qiu. Shen Miao and Shen Qiu were the younger generation of the Shen family, and as long as these two people were destroyed, it would be difficult for the Shen family to stand up again. Moreover, with Shen Miao and Shen Qiu's sibling relationship, if in the future Shen Miao returned and knew that Shen Qiu had fallen into such a predicament because of her, one feared that he would blame himself for a lifetime. There was no punishment more painful than living in pain. Princess Ming'an was indeed vicious and merciless. Xie Jingxing's countenance was slightly moved as he asked, what was the result? Shen Qiu was not fooled. Gao Yang said. Xie Jingxing's gaze then eased up, but before he could speak again, Gao Yang's words rang in his ears. But even though Shen Qiu was not fooled, the Biao young master of the Luo family in the Shen mansion was not very good. Those people thought that Shen Qiu was called out, but in fact it was Luo Ling. Luo Ling's martial arts were not as good as Shen Qiu's, and did not end up well in those people's hands. Xie Jingxing raised his brows. How is he now? Not very good. Gao Yang said, even with my medical skills, I am also helpless. In this lifetime, most likely he would not be able to use his right hand to hold a sword. Xie Jingxing was startled, and his good-looking brows gradually sank as his gaze turned cold. Chapter 578. On this day, the weather was warm. The sun was just right outside, and in the eastern courtyard of the Shen residence, Chen Roqiu was sitting and chatting with Shen Yu. These days, because Chen Roqiu let Shen Yu start to choose a son-in-law, Shen Yu had quarreled with Chen Roqiu several times. But the usually gentle Chen Roqiu showed extreme toughness for the first time. Shen Yu had no choice and could only follow Chen Roqiu to socialize with a cold face. Over time, there was a rift between mother and daughter. It was somewhat rare for them to sit together peacefully today. Heard that Shen Miao was kidnapped and there is no news of her until now. Shen Yu picked up a fruit from the porcelain plate on the table and ate it while showing a gloating mood. One do not know if she is still alive or not. Chen Roqiu frowned. She had always wanted to train Shen Yu to not be affected by favor or humiliation, at least to look gentle and elegant in front of others. But compared to the younger Chen Roqiu, Shen Yu was lacking in calmness. It was still all right outside, but in the room, any emotions would be revealed, making Chen Roqiu worried. Who would kidnap her? Shen Yu muttered, eldest Bo has a lot of enemies in the Ding capital and one do not know who was the one who took action this time. Since one dared to take such a risk, one must have a deep hatred with Shen Miao. One would not target other families and only kidnap Shen Miao meant that they were targeting Shen Miao. Chen Roqiu said, moreover the Shen family's army had searched outside for so many days without any news of her whereabouts. The other party had hidden very well. This time Shen Miao is fraught with grim possibilities. Hearing that, Shen Yu first had some fear on her face, but she suddenly thought of something and smiled, speaking of which, I would rather she was alive. She did not continue speaking. After being kidnapped for so long, if she was alive, she would have suffered a lot of inhumane torture. The invisible rumors in the world were the most hurtful. If Shen Miao died, all troubles would end and one would not care about what happened before one's death, but if she was alive, who knew what ugly things would be said? How many young ladies in the Ding capital were kidnapped and rescued by bad people? Even though their lives were saved, at the end they could not stand the criticism from the crowd and perished. Moreover, Shen Miao was the daughter of the formidable great general. Chen Roqiu glanced at Shen Yu and sighed, no matter what, this is ultimately her matter. You haven't spoken to your father these days. How long are you going to be angry for? If one were to say that Shen Yu was busy with the matter of choosing a son-in-law, then Shen Yu had some resentment towards Chen Roqiu, then towards Shen Wan, Shen Yu had some resentment. From the mouths of the servants, one knew that it was Shen Wan who made Chen Roqiu hurriedly settle the marriage for Shen Yu. Thus Shen Yu pushed all the blame onto Shen Wan and wholeheartedly thought that Shen Wan wanted her to marry early for the sake of his career, so that the third household would have an additional in-laws. Thus for these few days, Shen Yu did not speak to Shen Wan. At this moment when she heard Chen Roqiu say that, Shen Yu said impatiently, "Father is not seen all day, how can I talk to him?" Finishing, she turned her head away in a fit of pique and no longer cared about Chen Roqiu. Chen Roqiu was slightly startled and suddenly remembered that what Shen Yu said was not wrong. These days one did not know if it was because the official matters were too busy that Chen Roqiu and Shen Wan's meeting time was shorter. In the past, he would gently recite poems every 3 to 5 days, but these days Shen Wan was somewhat absent-minded. Chen Roqiu sighed in her heart. Old Shen Furen was pressing Shen Wan to take in concubines, and if the husband and wife became estranged, then she would have to face the biggest crisis. Chen Roqiu did not know that at this moment Shen Wan, who was busy with official matters in her eyes, was playing chess with Zhang Ziqing in the western courtyard of the Shen residence. Zhang Ziqing was wearing a green pipa top and a light yellow palace satin plain snow silk skirt. Her hair was in a cool bun, making her look especially refined and gentle. The tea that she brewed was extremely tasty and Shen Wan, who loved tea, would often come here to ask her for tea. When he came to ask for tea, Zhang Ziqing would like to ask Shen Wan some questions about the chess game. As time went by, Shen Wan would often come here to play chess with Zhang Ziqing and drink tea. Chapter 579. Zhang Ziqing asked with a smile, "A few days ago one heard that 5th Shen young lady was abducted, one do not know if she was found or not. Currently there is no whereabouts." Shen Wan shook his head. Zhang Ziqing then sighed, "Such an accident happened to a perfectly good young lady." According to Third Master's view, was 5th Shen young lady harmed by General Shen's enemies? Shen Wan said, "This is not easy to say, after all it was only 5th lady who was abducted. But after such a long time, one fear that even if the person was rescued, it would also be." Zhang Ziqing's face revealed a mournful expression but her heart was secretly delighted. She did not know why, but when facing Shen Miao, she would have an instinctive fear. Perhaps it was because the words that Shen Miao said to her last time made her hair stand, or perhaps Shen Miao could see through her thoughts too clearly. No matter what, with such a person around, Zhang Ziqing's heart would not be at ease. Now hearing Shen Wan say that, she was very happy. Regarding Shen Miao's matter, there were people in Kai Yun Yuan and the Shen residence discussing it. Wan Yinyang said, "I originally felt that it was not good for Dongling to stay in the residence all day, but now it seems that I am relieved. There are so many kidnappers on the streets and you are so good-looking, if you were to be abducted, then Yinyang could only spend the rest of her life crying." As she spoke, she stopped the needlework in her hands and said, "One do not know if 5th young lady is dead or alive." Shen Dongling, who was helping Wan Yinyang with the embroidery stool, smiled when she heard that. "Yinyang, that is not something that kidnappers can do." Wan Yinyang's eyes widened, "Why?" How would there be kidnappers who would blatantly abduct people on the streets? Even if there is, one would not abduct a young lady of an official's family. Especially with one look one can see that one has a great background, one cannot guarantee how much trouble it would bring to oneself in the future. Those people were obviously targeting fifth younger sister. I think that they are most likely the enemies of the first household and it was just a coincidence that fifth younger sister encountered them. Even though Shen Dongling said it as such, there was not much sorrow on her face, as if she was talking about other people's family matters. Wan Yinyang sighed, fifth young lady's life is considered finished. She reincarnated into such a good family but did not enjoy her life and wasted her luck. Not necessarily. Shen Dongling smiled sweetly, fifth younger sister has always had the help of a benefactor and can always turn misfortunes into blessings. Who knows if there will be a benefactor to save her from the water and fire this time. Even with the help of a benefactor, now that things have become like this, what else can be done? Wan Yinyang did not agree with Shen Dongling's words. Just as she was speaking, she saw Shen Dongling's personal maid Xinghua hurriedly walking in from outside, as if she had something to say. Yinyang, third young lady, this servant just heard from outside that fifth young lady was sent back to the Shen mansion by Princess Rong Xian's carriage. She is safe and sound and very well. Yinyang see, Shen Dongling smiled, I already said, fifth younger sister's ability is very great, naturally there will be a benefactor helping her. There was finally news of Shen Miao who was kidnapped by the bandits a few days later and she was even personally sent back by Princess Rong Xian's personal female official. There was another layer of uproar in the Ding capital. It was because after Shen Miao was kidnapped by the bandits wanted to transport Shen Miao out of the city but it was a pity that the Shen family's military was too strict. While the bandits were transporting Shen Miao escaped by herself and fell and fainted after injuring her leg, but accidentally bumped into the guards of the princess residence. The guards sent Shen Miao back to the princess residence and Shen Miao then saw Princess Rong Xian after she woke up. There was no news these few days because Shen Miao had not woken up and the people in the princess residence did not know her identity, thus they did not dare to randomly identify her. In the end, Shen Miao was still a pure and good young lady and this time there was no danger. Chapter 580. Perhaps there were some doubtful voices but most of the people did not doubt this statement because the person who spoke was the most unreasonable but also the most just Princess Rong Xian in Mingqi. Since Princess Rong Xian had spoken, there should not be any problems. But what was strange was that even though the words had been spoken, it was all rumors outside and Shen Miao did not appear in front of everyone. Some people said that it was because Shen Miao was seriously injured that she was unable to appear now. Some people said that it was because the Shen family wanted to protect Shen Miao well and did not dare to let her leave the residence easily, in case she met with evil people again. In any case, Shen Miao had returned to the Shen residence but no one saw it with their own eyes. And at this moment Shen Miao was standing in front of Luo Ling's room in the Shen mansion. Luo Tan's words echoed in her ears, Biao youngest sister, go and persuade older brother Ling. Even though older brother Ling did not say it, we all know that his heart is very upset. Even though he still looks happy, he has unspeakable bitterness. We are all stupid and do not know how to comfort him. Biao youngest sister, you have read so many books and know what others are thinking in their heart. If you go and persuade older brother Ling should listen to you. Previously in the Shaochun city, whatever you say, older brother Ling would go along with it. This time it is the Luo family begging you. Shen Miao sighed in her heart and hesitated for a moment before finally knocking on the door. Who? Someone asked inside. It is me, older brother Ling. After a moment of silence, someone said, come in. Shen Miao walked in with a bamboo basket in her hands. Upon entering the room, she placed the bamboo basket on the desk. There was a celadone bowl at the corner of the desk and there were some brown marks at the bottom of the bowl, which was the medicine that Luo Ling drank just now. Luo Ling was sitting in front of the table and there were some books on the table, so he should be reading. His face was slightly pale and his hand was wrapped in bandages as he looked at her with a smile. Biao's youngest sister has come. As the eldest grandson of the Luo family, Luo Ling was the most gentle and steady one among the 4 juniors. He seemed to be a real gentleman and was different from Pei Lang, who had a selfish and cold personality. Luo Ling was a person who could easily warm others. After Luo Ling knew that Shin Miao had returned safely, naturally he was happy for Shin Miao but did not mention a word about his right hand being injured. Even when they were eating and talking, they were still generous and gentle, as if they had never experienced this. If he did not say it, no one would dare to mention it, but the calmer Luo Ling appeared, the more uneasy it made others feel. That was why Luo Tan came to beg Shin Miao, hoping that she could help to persuade Luo Ling. I brought you some cakes. Shin Miao smiled and took out the plate of pastries from the bamboo basket. I added milk and honey, most likely it will be good for your injuries. She was the first person to directly say, injury, to Luo Ling. Luo Ling paused slightly before smiling, but I just drank the medicine and cannot eat it now. Younger Biao's sister, leave it here. After a while, I will taste younger Biao's sister's cooking. Can't eat? Shin Miao looked at him and asked, or can't eat? Luo Ling's action of holding the book trembled before he raised his head and smiled. What do you mean? You won't be angry because I didn't eat the cake immediately, will you? Shin Miao sat down opposite Luo Ling. Luo Ling made her think of a person, Wan Yu. Luo Ling's temperament was gentle and tolerant, and would not haggle over it after suffering a loss. This was almost the same as Wan Yu. In the beginning, perhaps it was because she knew that Shin Miao was not in Fu Xiuyi's favor, or perhaps it was because she understood the hardships of life in the palace. Even though Wan Yu was a princess of the imperial court, she did not have any arrogance at all. Afterwards Mei Furan instigated Fu Xiuyi to marry Wan Yu to the Xiongnu. Fu Xiuyi threatened with the righteousness of the world, and Shin Miao was in so much pain that she wished she was dead. Wan Yu in turn comforted her. The grasslands is very good. I have not been to the grasslands in my entire life. If one were to encounter something new, one would definitely write to Imperial Mother and let Imperial Mother see the beautiful scenery of the grasslands. Chapter 581. To never mention one's sufferings and instead smile at those who care about one. This was Wan Yu and this was also Luo Ling. Shin Miao said, is it so difficult to admit that one's heart is not happy and did not put it down, feel wronged, angry and resentful? Luo Ling was startled. Older brother Ling seems to not intend to blame anything. Shin Miao said, not planning to blame others means that one is planning to blame oneself. Luo Ling stared at Shin Miao for a while and suddenly smiled bitterly. Younger Biao's sister, must you speak so directly? It is older Biao brother that is too roundabout. Shin Miao said, same as your feelings. You do not blame others but blame yourself. Similarly, you do not say anything and do not mention anything. Do you want me to blame myself for a lifetime or be unable to be at peace for the rest of my life? Luo Ling was startled. Younger Biao's sister, older brother Ling, do you think that by acting as if nothing happened, everyone will feel relaxed and ignore the injury on your right hand and everything will be happy? No. If you hide it in your heart, you will not be happy and everyone will not be happy. Shin Miao's voice was very gentle but the words that she said were very sharp. She said, life is only a short few decades and compromising is a way to live, but sometimes it is not bad to be a little presumptuous. Why is there a need to wrong yourself for others? If you are not happy, you can say it out. You can be angry, hate or complain. This is not a big deal. Most likely it was the first time he heard such a saying that Luo Ling was somewhat unable to accept it. It was as if it was the first time he knew Shin Miao as he carefully sized her up. Towards this younger Biao sister, Luo Ling's feeling was that she had a clear distinction between love and hate. She was young but had a big bearing and looked gentle but stubborn. But these words made Luo Ling have a new understanding of Shin Miao. In her bones, there was a kind of disdain towards worldly etiquette. It was as if the so-called kindness and righteousness were not worth mentioning in her eyes. Who should I hate? Blame who? Angry at who? Luo Ling asked. You can blame me because it was because of me that you were tricked by others. You can hate the mastermind because it was those people who caused you to be injured. You can even be angry that none of the doctors in the entire Ding capital are able to treat your injury and are all quack doctors who deceive the world. The only one that you should not blame is yourself. Shen Miao said, good people blame themselves and bad people blame others, but bad people live more easily than good people. So, if you can make yourself happier, what's so sad about blaming others? Luo Ling laughed and said, Biao youngest sister, are you comforting me? Yeah. Shen Miao said, I have said so much so that you do not bury everything in your heart. Luo Ling sighed, correct. After this matter, my heart is indeed unhappy, and uncomfortable. However, aunt and uncle were already blaming themselves, so I couldn't add insult to injury. Tanner is worried about me, I can't let her worry all day long. I can only blame myself for not practicing martial arts hard enough. That's why I was injured. I blame myself for not being smart enough. That's why I was easily taken advantage of. Then what about you now? Shen Miao asked. Biao youngest sister's skill in persuading others is different and just happens to suit my appetite. Luo Ling teased, perhaps what you said is right. It is not because of me and the person that I should be angry at is not myself. Being angry and hateful is not what you should do. Shen Miao said, since the right hand cannot be used, then why not try the left hand? Luo Ling was surprised for a moment. I heard that there was a general in the previous dynasty who was brave and good at fighting, but his right hand was chopped off by a local general on the battlefield. The world thought that he was depressed, but one did not think that he started to use his left hand and created the unique, left-hand sword technique. Shen Miao smiled gently, what does older brother Ling think? Chapter 582. When Luo Ling heard Shen Miao's words, a strange brilliance gradually rose in his eyes. It was different from just now. It seemed that some thoughts in his heart had been aroused and his eyes became different. He looked at Shen Miao with an excited gaze, Biao younger sister's story is really good. Older Biao brother will do it better. Luo Ling laughed out loud and Luo Tan, who was eavesdropping outside, jumped in shock. It was different from the gentle smile that Luo Ling always had on his face. Even through the door, one could hear the carefree laughter. What exactly did Shen Miao say to Luo Ling? Is it because Biao younger sister relied on this kind of skill that no matter what kind of predicament she encountered, she could calmly face it and walk step by step until today's undefeatable position? Luo Ling asked. Shen Miao smiled, it is still too early to talk about undefeatable position. It seems so. Shen Miao declined to comment. What Luo Ling said was not wrong, but it was also not right. It was not possible to rely on these. If a person could feel that they had fallen from the most honorable position to dust, that everything they relied on had disappeared overnight, that they had not received any return for their efforts, that their family had collapsed, that their children had died, and that all of this was because of a stubborn mistake from the very beginning, then they would know that nothing was more important than living. Not only must they must live well. One day, they would be able to make a comeback, and one day, they would be able to pay back what they had suffered in the past on those who had hurt them. Luo Ling blamed himself, but how could Shen Miao not blame herself? She often blamed herself for her selfishness in the previous lifetime, which caused the entire Shen family's first household to be buried with her. In this lifetime, she was trying her best to mend this mistake, and it was fortunate that everything was not too late. She looked at Luo Ling and smiled, from today onwards, older brother Ling will not stay in the study to read all day. Ever since Luo Ling's right hand had an accident, Luo Ling would often stay in the study to read. It was said that it was to calm one's mind, but everyone knew that Luo Ling wanted to be alone and depressed. Biao younger sister had personally interceded, so how would I dare to read? Luo Ling smiled gently. Shen Miao nodded her head, then I am assured. It is not enough to be assured. Luo Ling looked at her and blinked his eyes mischievously. Since this matter started because of Biao younger sister, then these pastries still need to be made. That is natural. Shen Miao replied, if Biao older brother wants to eat, just tell the maid and I will send it over. Luo Ling stared at Shen Miao. The young female in front of him was talking and smiling. She was originally delicate and pretty and could even be said to be somewhat naive but often gave one an extremely stable feeling. For example, today's speech, he clearly knew that she was here to persuade him, clearly knew that she was here to cheer him up. If it was someone else, Luo Ling could naturally seal his heart and face it with a smile, but facing Shen Miao, facing her outspoken and patient guidance, it was like the most gentle spring water. It was obvious that what she was doing was not a bright and good thing, but it made one feel that one would not resist. Just like an elder. Luo Ling jumped in shock at his own thoughts and found it somewhat funny. Shen Miao was only 16 and was several years younger than himself. At such an age of 16, Luo Tan would even go out to climb trees with Luo Qian. For such a young female, no matter how mature she was usually, she would not have any relation with the elders. His gaze gradually softened as he looked at Shen Miao and teased, if in the future one cannot master the sword techniques with one's left hand, Biao younger sister must not despise me. When the words came out, Luo Ling felt that he was somewhat abrupt as the hint in those words was too strong. But he did not know why he looked at Shen Miao with some hope, as if he wanted to hear the answer that he was looking forward to from Shen Miao's mouth. Chapter 583. Shen Miao was slightly startled and faced with Luo Ling's gaze that was not the same as usual. She felt slightly embarrassed. Not to mention Luo Ling's identity or anything else, after her rebirth, Shen Miao did not have any thoughts about her marriage. If she could find a stable person to spend the rest of her life with, as long as that person respected her, so what if she loved or not? Thus Shen Miao had never thought about her husband. But Luo Ling. Shen Miao sighed in her heart. Since she had compared Luo Ling to Wan Yu, if Luo Ling really became her husband, then in the future she would die of awkwardness. She smiled and said lightly, older Biao brother is joking. Who in this family would dare to dislike you? But she did not answer Luo Ling's question. The hope in Luo Ling's eyes gradually dimmed and after a moment of silence, he smiled again, no matter what, many thanks to younger Biao's sister for consoling. You are welcome. Shen Miao said, we are all one family. Shen Miao sat for a while before getting up to leave. After Shen Miao left, Luo Ling sat in front of the table and one did not know what he was thinking about. After being in a daze for a long time, he then gently sighed and a bitter smile appeared on his lips. His gaze landed on the plate of pastries at the corner of the table and after thinking about it, he reached out to take it. But one did not know what happened but a gust of wind suddenly blew and just happened to hit that plate. The heavy porcelain plate actually fell to the ground with a bang, and the pieces flew everywhere. At the same time, the ink box on the table was also knocked over and a lot of the ink splashed onto the pastries. It was obvious that it could not be eaten. Luo Ling was surprised for a moment and got up to take a look, but saw that the windows were tightly closed and could not help but mutter, how can there be wind when it is closed so well? Following that his gaze landed on the pastries that were already contaminated by the ink and said regretfully, what a pity. At the other end, Shen Miao returned to the room and lit up the oil lamp in the room. She then let Jingzhe and Guyu withdraw before pressing down her nausea. Luo Ling's matter was indeed an accident as one did not think that Princess Ming'an would be so ruthless that not only did she want to deal with her, she also wanted to deal with Shinqiu. This time if Luo Ling did not block a calamity for Shinqiu, one did not know what kind of encounter Shinqiu would have. Princess Ming'an was even more arrogant than in the last lifetime, and because of a freak combination, she hated Shen Miao even more and did things without considering the consequences. This made one unable to feel at ease and it was better to eliminate her earlier. Unfortunately, Xie Jingxing interfered in this matter. Shen Miao did not know what Xie Jingxing wanted to do, but on that day when she was sent to the princess residence by Xie Jingxing told her not to go out these days and not to let others see any traces of her. Even though one did not know how Xie Jingxing planned to take action, but now that Xie Changchao was already dead, one think that Xie Jingxing still had to deal with Xie Changwu. Originally Shen Miao had always thought that if she did not need to do it herself, it would be good to borrow a knife to kill others. But thinking that Xie Jingxing had never been a good person who would help others for free and that cunning mind, one feared that if he helped her get rid of Ming'an and Xie Changwu today, he would give a huge price to extort them the next day, so she felt that it was not a good idea to let Xie Jingxing take action. Just as he was thinking, he saw the candlelight flicker, and a silhouette suddenly appeared on the screen. Until now, Shen Miao did not even know how to be surprised and turned her head around habitually and indeed saw Xie Jingxing walking in from outside. Why did this person come uninvited and act so openly, as if he was strolling in his own garden? Shen Miao was somewhat stuffy but saw Xie Jingxing sitting down in front of the small table. Today he did not wear the purple gold robes that he usually wore and wore a black brocade robe. If it was not for the silver-lined collar, he would have blended in with the night. However, the knight was unable to hide his good looks. That pair of peach blossom eyes were shining brightly and today it was especially sharp. There is no tea and no snacks. Xie Jingxing raised his brows. This is how you entertain guests? Shen Miao said, I did not seem to invite you. Not a guest is at least an ally. Not an ally. Xie Jingxing looked at her from the side and his lips slowly hooked up, that is also a life-saving benefactor. Shen Miao was at a loss for words. Xie Jingxing had already shamelessly claimed to be a life-saving benefactor, so what else could she say? Might as well not say it. Shen Miao looked at Xie Jingxing pouring the tea and drinking it in one gulp. She did not know why, but there was a somewhat unhappy look on her face. Shen Miao thought that Xie Jingxing did not show his emotions on his face. For example, the corners of his lips were slightly raised but it made one feel scared. One did not know which daring person had provoked his unhappiness. Chapter 584. Shen Miao thought for a while before asking Xie Jingxing, how do you plan to deal with Princess Ming'an and Xie Changwu? Even though she repeatedly told herself not to be curious about all of Xie Jingxing's matters, Shen Miao still could not hold it back. At that time when Xie Jingxing took away Xie Changchao's body, it made her feel very puzzled. She asked, do you plan to kill Xie Changwu? Or else wait for him to scheme against me behind my back? Xie Jingxing asked back. Shen Miao rolled her eyes. Even if Xie Changwu really wanted to scheme against Xie Jingxing, one would need to be able to do so. Not to mention that Xie Jingxing still had the noble identity of the great Liang's Prince Rui, even when he was still the little marquis of the residence of the Marquis of Linan. The Xie brothers did not have a good result when they crossed swords with him. That Madame Fang, who had a lot of means, could only honestly watch Xie Jingxing being unrestrained and arrogant for so many years. Actually, you do not have to kill him. You also do not have to kill Xie Changchao. Shen Miao said, your father. The Marquis of Linan has consecutively lost sons and will definitely investigate the matter thoroughly. Perhaps you have other means and at the end there will be some unnecessary trouble. Xie Jingxing's eyes were slightly cold. It is up to me to decide whether to kill them or not. Suddenly he glanced at Shen Miao and his lips hooked up. Now you seem to have the awareness of an ally. Why? Worried about me? His tone suddenly became a little more frivolous, but compared to the youth's frivolous attitude 2 years ago, when the more handsome Xie Jingxing did these things, it made one unable to move their eyes away. One obviously knew that it was dangerous, but it was as if one was fascinated to get close. Shen Miao moved her eyes away without batting an eyelid. I am worried that you will implicate me. Xie Jingxing sneered and there was some rumination in his smile. No need to worry. If I have a way to protect you, then I also have a way to protect myself. One will not give trouble to others. Shen Miao felt somewhat strange in her heart as she felt that Xie Jingxing's words were insinuating something. However, there were only the two of them in the room, thus one did not know who he was insinuating to. Shen Miao only thought that she was being overly sensitive and simply followed along with his words. His Highness Prince Rui naturally has remarkable abilities. There are also areas where one cannot be compared to others. Xie Jingxing lazily said, one does not know the trick of injuring oneself to win one's heart. Shen Miao said, what? Never mind. Xie Jingxing stood up and walked to Shen Miao. He was extremely tall, and when he stood shoulder to shoulder with Shen Miao, he could not help but feel pressured. Usually when he spoke to Shen Miao, he would be inattentive or flirtatious, which diluted the pressure, but today she did not know why or if it was Shen Miao's misperception, but she felt that Xie Jingxing's gaze was much sharper than usual. How do you want me to deal with Mingyan? He leaned close to Shen Miao and whispered in her ears. Shen Miao subconsciously took a step back, but her shoulders were held down by Xie Jingxing. His expression was somewhat strange, as if he was enduring something. Abruptly, he loosened his grip, turned around and coldly said, what do you think? Why ask me? Shen Miao said, do you already have an idea? Xie Jingxing had already taken Xie Changchao's body away, so Shen Miao thought that Xie Jingxing had already thought of the next step in his heart, so why would he still ask her now? That's up to you. Xie Jingxing didn't turn around. If Prince Rui were to take action, how much success would he be able to achieve? Shen Miao quickly calculated in her heart, I mean, if you were to kill Princess Mingyan, is there a guarantee that no one would be able to use it against you? Xie Jingxing paused and turned around to stare at Shen Miao for a while before suddenly smiling, Shen family's girl, you really know how to do business. Shen Miao was slightly surprised for a moment. Xie Jingxing had not called her Shen family's girl for a long time, and now that he called her that, it made Shen Miao feel that it was 2 years ago when she and Xie Jingxing first met. At that time both of them feared that they were evenly matched and were on guard against each other, and thought that they would not be in contact for the rest of their lives. One did not expect that in just 2 years' time, they were able to sit together and calmly discuss the business of silencing someone. Chapter 585. Life was indeed full of twists and turns. Seeing Shen Miao in a daze, Xie Jingxing said again, you want to kill her? Shen Miao recovered to her senses and said, she and the Xie brothers conspired to kidnap me, and attempted to sell me to a brothel, and prepared a path that is worse than death for me. She also secretly plotted to murder my eldest brother. I am not a saint, and will not repay evil with good. As long as she keeps her life, compared to what she did to me, it is already very benevolent. Vicious and merciless girl. Xie Jingxing smiled unconcernedly, as if he did not feel that it was inconceivable for Shen Miao to say that she wanted to kill a country's princess. He folded his arms and looked at Shen Miao, but why should I do that? Shen Miao, she had always heard that when females came to Kuei water, their character would be somewhat moody. Now Shen Miao could not help but suspect that males would also come to Kuei water. Otherwise why would Xie Jingxing be so moody today, and make one unable to figure it out? A few days ago when Xie Jingxing tried to tie Shen Miao to him, he took the initiative to stand up for her. Now that he was the one who stood up, Xie Jingxing instead put on airs. Even those slippery old officials in the court who had been up and down for many years, would not make one's heart as irritated as this youth in front. She said, didn't you already consider me as your ally? Is it not a matter of course to stand up for an ally? Shen Miao could see that Xie Jingxing was a person who did not play his cards according to common sense. Pei Lang once taught Fu Xiaoyi the art of managing his subordinates. If there was an eccentric official, if he was shameless, one would be more shameless than him. She might as well use Xie Jingxing's own words to block him. Xie Jingxing choked for a moment and looked at Shen Miao. His gaze slightly moved as he said softly, even though it is so, not only did I save you, I also helped you to provoke a murder case, and now help you to assassinate a country's princess. Allies are all mutually beneficial, and you do not do anything. To help others unconditionally is husband and wife. I see that you do not treat me as an ally, but as a husband. Shen Miao was exasperated and sneered, Your Highness Prince Rui is respected like gold and precious like jade. If one is not willing, then forget it. I will not force it. As for Princess Ming En's matter, I will think of a solution myself. Think of what way? Xie Jingxing said faintly, Ask your cousin for help. Shen Miao asked, What does this have to do with cousin Ling? Xie Jingxing said, What are you anxious for? I did not say that I will not agree. Since we're allies, it's not a difficult task. This king can just lend a helping hand. But you have to do something for this prince. Shen Miao glared at him. TSK, I can't remember. Xie Jingxing raised his brows and sighed, Help this prince make 2 baskets of pastries first. This prince is afraid that this prince will be hungry during the assassination. Shen Miao, it was only until Xie Jingxing left that Shen Miao sat back on the couch, and at this moment she was not sleepy at all. She also did not know what method Xie Jingxing would use to assassinate Princess Mingen, but her heart was unexpectedly at ease. Thinking about it, Xie Jingxing's hands and eyes were all over the heavens, he even changed his identity and dared to strut around under Emperor Wen Hui's eyelids. As for taking a princess' life, seeing how confident he was in saying it, it should be an easy matter. But Xie Jingxing's mood today was really not good. Shen Miao was thinking as she removed the cups from the couch. He was so angry that he was somewhat temperamental. In Ming Qi's capital, the Ding capital, after a few consecutive days of sunny weather, it started to snow again. The noble furins and young ladies were all pampered and the roads were slippery in the snowy weather, so they were not willing to go out. If they were to go out, they would definitely cover themselves up tightly and carry a few heaters in their hands, so that they would not catch a cold. The water in the Wanli Lake was frozen, and even if there were anglers, they would have to dig a hole in the ice before they could fish. It was as if in one night, the trees were covered with sparkling ice. If there was someone who splashed water on the doorsill, there was no need to talk about it the next day when one woke up, it would be covered with a layer of ice, and one would fall down while walking. Chapter 586. It was the same in the residence of Prince Rui. Ji Yushu woke up early in the morning and fell on his face at the entrance, complaining that the ice in the courtyard was not clean. Ever since Xie Jingxing bought the large residence in Yanqing Lane, other than occasionally going to the Feng Xian pawn shop when Hong Ling showed him the account books, most of the time Ji Yushu would play with the big cat in the residence of Prince Rui. Seeing Xie Jingxing walking over from a distance, Ji Yushu said, "Third older brother." Xie Jingxing was too lazy to bother with him. The white tiger broke free from Ji Yushu's hands and quickly ran over to Xie Jingxing's side. Gao Yang came out from the other side. He did not return to the palace yesterday and stayed in the residence of Prince Rui. You are going to the Shen mansion to treat the young lady of the Luo family? Ji Yushu asked. Mentioning the matter, Gao Yang felt a headache. He had treated many people, be it the imperial concubines in the palace, the emperor, or even the furins and young ladies of the high-ranking officials, but it was the first time he saw someone like Luo Tan. It was clear that a few days ago she was so weak that she was about to die and picked up her life from the line of life and death. At the end, when she was just slightly better, she continued to practice martial arts in the Shen mansion's courtyard, saying that she was enlightened about Shen Miao's matter and only by practicing martial arts could she protect the people around her. But she did not even look at her own body. With her torment like this, how could the wound heal so quickly? And once the wound healed a little slower, Luo Tan would look at Gao Yang suspiciously and ask, "Are you really a physician from the palace? Why are you not even as good as the apprentices in our Shaochun city's medical hall? After a fall, one can go up the mountain to chop firewood the next day." She actually compared the apprentices of the medical hall to him, an imperial physician, and Luo Tan's injury was not a fall, but an injury that almost cost her life. Gao Yang had never met such an uncooperative patient in his life and did not have any reverence or flattery towards him. If it was not for the fact that Luo Tan secretly went to see Prince Rui that day to threaten him, Gao Yang felt that Luo Tan would have peed on his head. Seeing Gao Yang's rare distracted look, Ji Yushu used his elbow to poke him. Why are you in a daze in broad daylight? Gao Yang recovered to his senses and looked at Ji Yushu in disdain. You think that everyone is the same as you? Xie Jingxing, who was at the side, suddenly spoke. How is Luo Ling? Gao Yang was surprised for a moment as he wondered why Xie Jingxing would suddenly ask about Luo Ling and said, he originally did not suffer any serious injuries. Isn't it the same? How's your hand? Hand? Gao Yang said, I can't use my right hand. Are you doubting my judgment? Xie Jingxing turned around and looked at Gao Yang unhappily. Can't you heal his hand? Although my medical skills are brilliant, I'm not a divine doctor. Gao Yang felt helpless. His hand has already been injured deep within his muscles and bones. He already had an old injury to begin with, so there's nothing I can do. Without rhyme or reason, what kind of friendship do you have with him? Even if you want to treat the Shen family well, Luo Ling is also a Biao relative, and you even need to take care of a Biao relative? Gao Yang said in disbelief, you might as well help the world. Xie Jingxing raised his brows. Who wants to take care of him? Then why do you care about his injuries? Gao Yang was baffled. I know that. Ji Yushu, who had been left hanging at the side, finally found a place to speak and cut in. I know. I know. He proudly touched his chin and put on an unfathomable look. Young Master Luo was injured because of 5th Shen young lady. If young Master Luo is not well, 5th Shen young lady would inevitably blame herself. 3rd older brother and 5th Shen young lady have a deep friendship, so naturally one would not be willing to see 5th Shen young lady sad. Isn't that right, 3rd brother, am I right? Xie Jingxing looked at him coldly. Ji Yushu touched his nose and said softly, I feel that it makes sense. Chapter 587. Gao Yang however pondered over Ji Yushu's words and seemed to have suddenly understood something. When he looked at Xie Jingxing again, there was some puzzlement in his eyes. If it is really like this, actually it is a good thing that Luo Ling's hand is injured. In this way, in front of you, he would be dwarfed. Joke. Xie Jingxing did not get angry but laughed instead. Even if he had an extra hand, he would still be dwarfed in front of this prince. Ji Yushu and Gao Yang, did they say something wrong? Why did they feel that Xie Jingxing seemed to be even angrier? Ji Yushu tried to appease Xie Jingxing, of course. Do not see who 3rd older brother is? Prince Rui of the Great Liang, His Majesty's younger brother. Who under the heavens would dare to look down on you? That Luo family is only the young master of a small official at the border of Mingqi and in our Great Liang, that is a sesame official. Moreover, he is currently unable to lift his right hand. How can he be compared to 3rd older brother? Ji Yushu's bootlicking skills were also top-notch as his eyelids did not even blink once. Comparing this prince with someone who does not even have the power to protect himself. Ji Yushu, do you want to return home? Xie Jingxing's voice was even colder. Ji Yushu was stunned. Bootlicking had fallen on the horse's leg. What should he do now? It was Gao Yang who finally found his conscience and changed the topic. The people in the tower prison previously asked how to deal with Xie Changchao's body. Now that Shen Miao has returned to the Shen mansion, what do you plan to do next? Xie Changchao was dead, but the matter of Shen Miao being safe and sound and being sent back to the Shen mansion by Princess Rong Xian was known by the entire city. This matter had alarmed quite a number of people, but now that it was so easily brushed aside, it made one feel that it was not enough. But since Princess Rong Xian came forward, it was difficult for the rumors to rise, thus it was gradually forgotten by others. But how would it be easy for the people involved to forget? At least Xie Changwu's heart must be sitting on pins and needles. Xie Changchao disappeared just like that, and Shen Miao, who was abducted, returned to the residence safely. How would he feel? Hearing that, Xie Jingxing's lips slowly hooked up. The next step is naturally to settle the accounts. Gao Yang looked at Xie Jingxing for a while and probed, you plan to deal with Princess Ming'an together? Otherwise? Xie Jingxing casually said, the dogs raised by the Qin country are not properly tied up and go around biting people. If they are caught and killed, one cannot blame others. But Gao Yang somewhat disagreed. Even so, His Majesty had previously exhorted that one must not act rashly during this trip to Mingqi. Currently one do not know what His Majesty's plans are. If one were to touch the Qin country's people, Huang Fu Hao would definitely investigate, and if you were to find our people, even if you have a way, it would add a lot of trouble. Who said to use Great Liang people? Xie Jingxing chuckled, can't I use my own people? Gao Yang was surprised for a moment before saying, why must you take action against Princess Ming'an? It's fine to let her suffer, but why must you take her life? This mad dog has given me a lot of trouble. Xie Jingxing's eyes slightly sunk, whoever's life this prince wants to take, this prince will take. There is no need to inform you. Finishing, he bent down to protect her and ignored the two of them as he walked out. One did not know what he was going to do. Ji Yushu frowned and said, third older brother came to the Kuei water. Why is he so temperamental recently? Did you provoke him? Who has the leisure time? Gao Yang said, I still want to live a little longer. It seems that this time Xie Changwu and Princess Ming'an will be in trouble. Ji Yushu said sympathetically, so to speak, Xie Changchao really died easily. Most likely he had some good luck. Chapter 588. Correct. Gao Yang rarely agreed to Ji Yushu's words. The residence of the Marquis of Lineage in the Ding capital was much more deserted compared to the flourishing scene 2 years ago. There was no longer a long line of carriages and horses, and the number of people who came to visit Xie Ding was getting lesser by the day. There was no choice. Ever since Xie Jingxing died, Xie Ding seemed to have lost interest in the matters of the court. The Xie family, which had been the most troublesome and had given the late emperor a headache, had finally lost its spirit and could no longer make a name for itself. And now in the Xie family, Xie Changwu and Xie Changchao were still climbing up the career ladder. Even though these two people were not as stunning as Xie Jingxing, they still had some abilities. If it was not because of their Shu Sun status, they would have climbed even faster. Even so, to be able to reach this kind of promotion, it made one sigh with regret. In the Xie residence, Madame Fang was handing the newly made clothes to Xie Changwu. Madame Fang was already close to 40 years of age, but she did not show any signs of aging. She was different from Princess Yuqing, who was born in the imperial family. Until now, Madame Fang still retained some of the Jiangnan women's unique, pretty daughter of a humble family. She also spoke softly and slowly, extremely gentle, making one unable to help but love her when they saw her. With this kind of delicate charm, it was no wonder that when the Marquis of Lineage, Xie Ding, had a lovely wife like Princess Yuqing, he still ended up on Madame Fang's bed. Madame Fang said, this is this year's newly made material. One, let the tailor make some winter clothes for both of you brothers. The Ding capital is getting colder every day and both of you are out all day, so one must not catch a cold. Xie Changwu reached out to receive it, thanking mother. But his heart was thinking of other things. Your younger brother's clothes are also here. One heard that Chang Chao went out to hunt with others. Why is he not back after such a long time? Madame Fang grumbled, yesterday the Marquis was still telling me that Chang Chao kept thinking of going to the Ministry of Appointments and wanted to bring Chang Chao to meet the Assistant Minister of the Ministry of Appointments to have a chat. At the end Chang Chao was not around these few days, thus one could only let down this opportunity. Madame Fang sighed and said, before Chang Chao, you were always thinking about improving yourself. Why are you thinking about playing around now? Xie Changwu forced a smile and said, third younger brother. It is not entirely for fun. It is just that the recent snowstorm is heavy and the weather is cold. Most likely it is not easy to leave the mountains after hunting, so it was delayed. He will be back in a few days, and at that time let father invite the assistant minister of the Ministry of Personnel to attend the banquet. Hearing this, Madame Fong was somewhat nervous. The snowstorm is strong. Will the mountain be sealed? Will Chang Chao be in danger? How could it be? Xia Changwu said with a smile, there are many people following and they are all experienced people. Mother, do not worry. Madame Fong was then at ease and pulled Xia Changwu's hands. Mother, now only have the two of you to rely on. Master had been lukewarm to me for so many years, and in the beginning Xia Jingxing was pressuring you two brothers. Mother's heart is also very sad to see you two suffer grievances. After enduring for so many years, it is fortunate that the heavens have eyes and tortured him to death. Now there is no one in the residence of the Marquis of Lin and who can block your path. You can only continue to move forward and step on those people who ridiculed us, mother and son, so that in the future even the Marquis would not be able to ignore your meritorious services and earn a title for mother. In this way, without the identity of a Shu son, the entire residence of the Marquis of Linen will be yours. When Madame Fong said these words, even though she was speaking softly and slowly, there was some unwillingness and resentment in it. Thinking about all these years, she had been suppressing her anger to live. Xia Changwu said, do not worry, mother. Since the heavens let Xia Jingxing die early, it means that the heavens are standing on our side. There will be a day when we, mother and son, have the final say in the residence of the Marquis of Linen. Chapter 589. Madame Fong nodded. After sending off Madame Fong, Xia Changwu returned to the room and paced back and forth in frustration. Those words that were said to Madame Fong were naturally to deal with her. It was easy to deal with Madame Fong as she was only a woman in the inner residence, but now that even Xia Ding would ask about Xia Chang Chao's whereabouts every few days, it was not good. Ever since Xia Changwu returned from the banquet with Xia Ding, he did not see any trace of Xia Chang Chao. If it was like this, then it was still all right. Perhaps Xia Chang Chao had some urgent matters to attend to and had to leave, but there was no trace of the person in the secret chamber. This really made Xia Changwu tremble with fear. The secret chamber in the residence of the Marquis of Linen was built by the two brothers, Xia Changwu and Xia Chang Chao, and it took a lot of twists and turns. Those workers who built the secret rooms were all killed by Xia Changwu, so in the entire Marquis residence, other than the two brothers, no one else would know where the entrance was. Xia Ding did not know, much less the people outside of the residence of the Marquis of Linen. Initially Xia Changwu thought that it was Xia Chang Chao who brought Shin Miao out. Perhaps he found a way to send Shin Miao to the brothel, or perhaps Xia Chang Chao had other plans. But after waiting and waiting, the news that Shin Miao was sent back to the Shin mansion by Princess Rong Xian made Xia Changwu immediately felt that it was not good. Shin Miao was saved, but where did the disappeared Xia Chang Chao go? Those people kidnapped Shin Miao in the secret room? But there were no signs of fighting in the secret room, and it was impossible for anyone else to know about this secret room. Could it be that when Xia Chang Chao brought Shin Miao out, they were discovered and Shin Miao was rescued? But what was with Princess Rong Xian's words? Xia Changwu felt that he had fallen into a vicious circle. No matter what he did, he was wrong. He wanted to see the person if he was alive, he wanted to see the corpse if he was dead. No matter how Xia Changwu sent out people to search for Xia Chang Chao, there was no trace of him. Not only was Xia Chang Chao's long period of disappearance suspicious, in the Qin country's residence, Princess Ming'an flew into a rage when she heard the news of Shin Miao being rescued, and asked Xia Changwu to quickly return to the residence. Xia Changwu could only temporarily make up some reasons to appease Princess Ming'an, but the paper could not wrap the fire, and Princess Ming'an would eventually explode. Xia Changwu was so anxious that blisters formed at the corner of his mouth. He put on his outer robe and planned to let people search every corner of the Ding capital when he suddenly saw a letter on the table. One did not know who placed this letter on his desk, but Xie Changwu never allowed servants to enter his study, thus outsiders were not able to enter. He first looked around vigilantly, but he didn't see anyone. He picked up the letter and opened it. He saw a familiar line of words. It was Xie Changchao's handwriting. Xie Changchao said in the letter that he wanted to bring Shin Miao out to look for a brothel that day, but who knew that they met with soldiers on the way and had no choice but to hide in a private house by the Wanli Lake. These days the news of Shin Miao returning to the Shin mansion was actually a scam that Shin Xian and Princess Rong Xian conspired. The aim was to make the people who abducted Shin Miao relax their vigilance. On the surface it looked like the Shin family's army and officers had stopped searching, but in private they did not relax their search. Thus Xie Changchao did not dare to easily bring Shin Miao out. Now that Princess Ming'an was pressuring him, it would be better to sell Shin Miao to the brothel of the Wanli Lake tonight. No matter what, they would first humiliate Shin Miao so that Princess Ming'an would be happy. It would be best to let Princess Ming'an go along to watch, to make up for the failure of the two brothers. After reading the letter, Xie Changwu believed 70 to 80% of it. Firstly, as stated in the letter, even though Shin Miao was sent back by Princess Rong Xian and there was an uproar outside, no matter if it was that day when Shin Miao was sent back to the Shin mansion or after Shin Miao returned, she did not show her face outside. That was to say that everyone did not see Shin Miao return with their own eyes. Since that was the case, why did Shin Xian not let Shin Miao show her face outside to make it more real? Could it be that Shin Miao was not found? Secondly, and also the most important point, the handwriting on the letter was undoubtedly Xie Changchao's, and there was even the secret communication method between Xie Changwu and Xie Changchao. When Xie Changchao was outside, even in the officialdom, there were very few documents that he personally wrote. If one were to say that it was just based on that, it was impossible to imitate Xie Changchao's handwriting. If one were to say that there was, it would be when Xie Changchao was practicing calligraphy at home, the manuscripts that were discarded in the residence. There were a lot of those manuscripts, and if Xie Jingxing was still alive, perhaps he would be able to imitate Xie Changchao's handwriting. Not to mention whether Xie Jingxing had the intention to imitate Xie Changchao's handwriting, even if he had, it was impossible. Xie Jingxing died on the battlefield 2 years ago, and there were no bones left. In this world, no one would be able to imitate Xie Changchao's handwriting. Xie Changwu thought about it and walked to the table. He spread out the paper and started writing. Chapter 590. In the Yan Qing Alley, in the residence of the imperial family of the Qin country. Even though the Qin country was better than the Ming Qi, it was not as rich as the Great Liang that they bought all the residences on the street. The location that was close to the street was deliberately distanced by the residence of Prince Rui. Princess Ming'an sat in the room and there were all kinds of exquisite snacks and tea in front of her, but she was not in the mood at all, and her brows were filled with depression. Today there were a number of maids that were scolded by Princess Ming'an for no reason, and one did not know what was wrong with Princess Ming'an. Is there still no news from Xie Changwu's side? Princess Ming'an asked her subordinate. That person shook his head. With a bang sound, Princess Ming'an smashed the cup in front of her onto the floor and said angrily, "Trash." The surrounding people were already used to Princess Ming'an's arrogant temperament, and did not dare to even breathe loudly. Princess Ming'an seemed to feel very annoyed, and simply got up and walked out of the room towards the courtyard. One did not know how Xie Changwu and Xie Changchao did things. That day they had obviously rescued Shin Miao from the hands of the Shin family, but they did not take any action. At the end, Shin Miao actually returned to the Shin mansion safe and sound. When she knew that Shin Miao returned to the Shin mansion, Princess Ming'an exploded with anger. She immediately sent someone to pass a message to the Xie brothers, and wanted to vent her anger on the Xie brothers for not handling the matter properly, but Xie Changwu wrote a letter to tell her that he would have his own arrangements in the future. On one hand, Princess Ming'an had to guard against Huang Fu Hao discovering the matter, and on the other hand she was grounded, so no matter how unwilling her heart was, she could only listen to Xia Changwu's news in the residence. In the end, after waiting for so many days, she finally could not hold it in any longer and was really angry. She planned to make the Xia brothers suffer the consequences. In this world, there was no one who could mess up the things she had instructed and still live well. Just as one wanted to call people to look for the Xia brothers, one saw a servant trotting over and seeing that there was no one around, he secretly handed a letter to Princess Ming'an. "Your Highness, this is sent by the second young master of the Xia family." Princess Ming'an was startled, as she did not understand why Xia Changwu would dare to take the initiative to send a letter, so she quickly opened it to read. After glancing at 10 lines, the gloomy expression on her face was swept away. She tore the letter into pieces in a few moves, and could not see the original contents. Suddenly she was in a good mood as she said to the palace maid beside her, "Go, accompany Ben Gong to pick a bright and beautiful dress, and then pick out all the jewelry from the box. Ben Gong want to choose properly." The maids were somewhat puzzled. Now that Princess Ming'an did not even step out of the residence, who was she dressing up as a heavenly immortal for? Furthermore, why dress up? Even though there were doubts in their hearts, everyone did not dare to provoke Princess Ming'an, and could only go in and help Princess Ming'an dress up. This day passed exceptionally fast, as if time was like flowing water. When night fell, it was already dark in the winter. Not to mention that it started to snow, but it was not a light snow. The snowflakes were like goose feathers fluttering in the air, and the cold wind in the winter was bone-chilling, so even the night watchman left in a hurry. The entire Ding capital was silent. At midnight, the Wanli Lake was completely silent. Most likely the wine shops and music houses were still brightly lit throughout the night, drinking and making merry, but on the streets and outside of the restaurants, there was not a single person. Even the windows of the pleasure houses were tightly shut. In such a late night, the wind was like a knife, making one's face hurt badly. The young ladies were also afraid that the wind outside would freeze the warm wine into ice, and waste the precious wine. In the Wanli Lake, those pleasure boats had already stopped. In winter, the surface of the lake was frozen, and one could not move at all. The boats were frozen in the middle of the lake, and looked exceptionally bleak. Chapter 591. But today, there was a person in the boat that was frozen in the middle of the water. Xia Changwu sat in the boat and rubbed his hands uneasily. Perhaps it was because he had a guilty conscience, or perhaps it was because Xia Changchao said that Shen Xian's people were still secretly investigating, which made him feel somewhat nervous. He did not even bring a hand warmer, and did not dare to light the fire to keep warm. He was already wearing very thick clothes, but it was even colder as it was near the water, and in addition to the fact that there was no one on the boat for many days, he felt the bone-chilling cold wind. Xia Changwu looked outside the boat, and was somewhat anxious when he did not see anyone's figure. Xia Changchao said in the letter that they would meet at the Wanli Lake's boat late at night, and said that the entire Ding capital was searched by people, and Shen Xian's eyes were everywhere, thus it was not safe outside. No one would come to this Wanli Lake during winter, and no one would see it, thus it was safe. At that time, he would bring a few more people, and let Princess Ming'an personally witness Shen Miao being humiliated, thus Princess Ming'an would naturally feel carefree. Moreover, the wind on the lake was strong, and the restaurant closest to the lake would have its windows closed, thus no one would notice the movements at this end. The timing and location were favorable, and Xia Changwu was foolproof. Even though Xia Changwu was somewhat unwilling in his heart, Xia Changchao had already arranged everything, thus Xia Changwu could only accept it. It was just that when it was nearing midnight, he did not see anyone coming, thus he could not help but feel somewhat anxious. Just as he was thinking, he heard a slight movement outside. Xia Changwu's heart jumped in surprise before he joyfully opened the boat's window, and indeed there seemed to be a vague figure coming over from afar, and there was someone on his back. Xie Changwu thought that it must be Xie Chang Chao carrying Shen Miao over, so he sighed in relief and walked to the bow of the boat to receive. That person got closer, and when he got closer, Xie Changwu felt that something was not right. Xie Chang Chao's stature was not as tall as this person, and his figure was not like it. His heart was uneasy, and just as he wanted to retreat, he saw the other party lighting a match, and a familiar voice rang, "Xie Changwu, what are you doing?" Xie Changwu looked over in astonishment, and saw that the person who came was a guard, and the person on his back was Princess Ming, and Princess Ming was very unhappy. In the letter that Xie Changwu gave her, it was at the Wanli Lake and it was still late at night. The Qin country was like spring all year round, and she was not used to the harsh cold of Ming Qi's winter, and now her entire body was shivering from the cold. Afraid of being discovered by Huang Fu Hao, Princess Ming could only bring her own personal secret guards to quietly go out at night. But the place that Xie Changwu chose was inside the pleasure boat, so he could only let a guard carry her over while the rest stayed outside. Princess Ming was originally extremely delicate, and if it was not for the fact that she wanted to personally see Shen Miao being unable to live or die, she would not force herself to do so. Seeing Xie Changwu, he vented out all his anger. Xie Changwu said, "Why is Princess Highness here?" "Xie Changwu, are you crazy?" Princess Ming said angrily, "Is it not you who called Ben Gong over to let Ben Gong appreciate Shen Miao's ugly state? What nonsense are you spouting now?" Xie Changwu was somewhat stunned. Even though Xie Chang Chao's letter mentioned that Xie Changwu wanted to bring Princess Ming along to appreciate, so that Princess Ming's anger would be appeased. But Xie Changwu kept an eye out for himself, as he was afraid that there would be an accident midway and drag Princess Ming in, and feared that it would be a bad thing. Moreover, today's matter was not foolproof. If Princess Ming came over and was unable to humiliate Shen Miao, then what would happen if Princess Ming was even angrier? Thus Xie Changwu did not invite Princess Ming. But now that Princess Ming appeared here, and said that Xie Changwu asked her to come. Xie Changwu did not know why, but there was a strong sense of unease in his heart. Princess Ming saw Xie Changwu's puzzled face and became even more unhappy. "Xie Changwu, are you playing with Ben Gong?" Chapter 592. This official does not dare. Xie Changwu's forehead was full of sweat as he said, "It is just that this official really did not write a letter to your Highness Princess." When Princess Ming heard this, she said angrily, "Since you did not write a letter to Ben Gong, then explain to Ben Gong why are you here. Just as the letter said, tonight you want to give Shen Miao an unforgettable painful experience, so why did you not tell Ben Gong?" Xie Changwu was at a loss for words and was secretly surprised. In that letter, everything that he had planned to do was written on it, and it was obvious that only he and Xie Chang Chao knew about it. If this letter was written by Xie Chang Chao to Princess Ming, why would Xie Chang Chao do this? He could only say, "This official indeed thinks so, but now Shen Miao is in my younger brother's hands and this official is still waiting for my younger brother to come." Xie Chang Chao. Princess Ming frowned, "You brothers are not together." Xie Changwu did not dare to say the fact that Xie Chang Chao had been missing for many days and could only deal with it vaguely, afraid of attracting suspicion. Third younger brother and this official acted separately. Princess Ming did not have any suspicions, and after thinking about it, she asked again, "What you all said, that Shen Miao returning to the Shen mansion was a scam made by Shen Xian and Princess Rong Xian. Is this true?" Xie Changwu's heart jumped and said, "Exactly." In fact, Xie Changwu also had some doubts, as this matter was only Xie Chang Chao's side of the story. But now he could only choose to believe in Xie Chang Chao. Xie Changwu did not suspect that the letter on his table was fake. After all, in this world, other than Xie Changwu, there was no one else who could copy Xie Chang Chao's handwriting. Moreover, the secret code between the two brothers could not be known by others. Princess Ming rubbed her hands, and most likely because it was unusually cold, she shouted at Xie Changwu, "When is Xie Chang Chao coming over?" Xie Changwu's heart was filled with unspeakable bitterness as he said, "Third younger brother said to come over at the Z hour." What time is it now? Princess Ming'an asked her personal attendant. The attendant replied, it is almost midnight. The wind and snow outside were howling, and it seemed to be able to chill one's heart. One did not know why, but Xie Changwu's heart suddenly felt uneasy. Looking at the pitch-black night sky, his heart raced as if he sensed danger approaching and instinctively wanted to escape. He looked at Princess Ming'an probingly and asked, why not your Princess Highness return first? If there is any news, this official will inform your Princess Highness the next day. Do you think this consort is playing around? Princess Ming'an flew into a rage. Ben Gong have already personally come over and now you ask Ben Gong to return. Xie Changwu, Ben Gong can make you lose your head at any time. Princess Ming'an was so domineering and fierce that Xie Changwu could only smile bitterly and no longer speak, but he heard footsteps outside. Princess Ming'an's face lit up, come. The two of them walked to the bow of the boat and saw a group of black-clothed people suddenly appearing on the frozen surface of the lake. These black-clothed people were all wrapped from head to toe, only revealing a pair of eyes, so their appearances could not be seen clearly. Princess Ming'an's expression softened a little and said, it was done very covertly. Following which her eyes swept across the tens of people and frowned, where is Shen Miao? These black-clad people were all men and there was no sign of Shen Miao. Princess Ming'an turned back to look at Xie Changwu unhappily, what is the matter with Xie Changchao? When Xie Changwu saw these 10 over black-clad people, he instinctively felt a chill down his spine. These 10 over people did not look like good people, not to mention that Xie Changchao did not even see Xie Changchao in this group of people. Xie Changwu wanted to escape, but in this world of ice and snow, the surface of the Wanli Lake was frozen, and once one walked on the ice, it would be slippery. Moreover, the lake was so big that there was nothing to hide, so how could it be easy to escape? Seeing that Princess Ming'an was displeased, Xie Changwu boldly shouted, who are you people? Chapter 593. The 10 over black-clad people did not speak and just walked closer to them. Princess Ming'an finally realized that something was wrong and asked Xie Changwu, they are not Xie Changchao's people. Xie Changwu's heart was flustered and did not know how to answer Princess Ming'an's question, and could only say, did not see third younger brother. Princess Ming'an said, audacious. Still not kneel down after seeing Ben Gong? Those people seemed to be deaf and were still approaching. Princess Ming'an's guards pulled out their swords and rushed into the black-clad people to protect Princess Ming'an from the crowd. Princess Ming'an finally understood that the black-clad people did not come with good intentions. She suddenly thought of something and looked out of the lake, where are the secret guards? Where did the secret guards go? When Princess Ming'an was carried in, she did not want others to hear her conversation with the Xie brothers, thus she only brought one person but the rest did not leave and were still a distance away from the pleasure boat. But with such a big commotion, one should have heard it and rushed over to help, so why was there no sound at all? Xie Changwu was also as flustered as Princess Ming'an. Today he did not come over alone, and had placed some subordinates in the other 2 pleasure boats, in order to prevent any unforeseen events from happening. But why was there no movement until now? Where were the people? Princess Ming'an's only bodyguard was quickly thrown to one side by the black-clad people, but under the weak firelight, blood spurted out from his throat, and he was actually killed with a single stab. The lake wind from the Wanli Lake blew over with the snow, cutting one's face like a knife, but even so, Princess Ming'an's and Xie Changwu's foreheads were still dripping with large drops of cold sweat. Who are you? Princess Ming'an suppressed the fear in her heart and said, Ben Gong is the princess of the Qin Empire. If you leave now, Ben Gong will let bygones be bygones and spare your dog lives. If you do not leave, do not blame older Crown Prince older brother for blaming in the future. Xie Changwu did not know whether to be afraid or to scold Princess Ming'an for being an idiot. Princess Ming'an actually said out her name. But thinking about it, today's matter was obviously a trap, and the other party most likely already knew of Princess Ming'an's identity, else it would not be clear why Princess Ming'an received that letter. But what could they do now? Xie Changwu thought in his heart that he could not shout for help here. Not to mention if others could hear it, even if it was discovered, he was an official of Ming Qi and a princess of the Qin country coming to the Wanli Lake in the middle of the night, he would not be able to explain himself. In a dilemma, Xie Changwu calmed down. He looked at the other party and sneered, murdering a princess is not a light crime. If you're not afraid of death, you can give it a try. Have a taste of what it feels like to be chased to the ends of the earth and live in fear like a stray dog. With Xie Changwu speaking, Princess Ming-En's heart was slightly comforted. Even though she was afraid, but with her status as a princess of a country, others would not dare to do anything to her. She said, "That's right. Given my status, I'm not someone you people can touch. If you dare to touch me today, the Qin royal family will grind you to ashes in the future." Is that so? Suddenly, a man's voice rang out from the crowd in black. That voice was low and somewhat hoarse, but it was as sweet and mellow as a warm wine in the winter, making one feel that it was very pleasant to listen to. Princess Ming-En and Xie Changwu looked over and saw that among the black-clad people, there was a person walking forward. Because they were all black-clad people, they were not able to see clearly just now. But now they felt that this black-clad person was somewhat different from the others. Under the weak light of the torch, this person's stature was obviously taller and straighter, and even if he had the same attire as these black-clad people, it could not conceal the noble air in his bones, as if one could distinguish him from others with one glance. Chapter 594. Who are you? Princess Ming-En said angrily, "Could it be that you do not know who Ben Gong is? Ben Gong is the princess of the Great Qin. With one order from Ben Gong, one can make all of your heads fall off." Hearing that black-clad person paused for a moment but gently laughed. Even if one could not see the other person's face due to the cloth, it was clear that his laughter was joyful, but Xie Changwu and Princess Ming-En seemed to be able to see the ridicule on the other party's face through the cloth. Princess Ming-En's face flushed red, as she had never been looked down upon like this before. But there were some doubts in her heart, as she felt that this person's voice was familiar, as if she had heard it before, but she could not remember where. She asked, "What are you laughing at?" "Laughing at you overestimating your capabilities." "You?" Princess Ming-En was furious. "What is a mere princess of the Qin country?" That person's voice was pleasant to hear, but the words were nasty. Even if one died, one would still be a pile of bones. "Bold!" Princess Ming-En shouted. "This prince is bold, so what about you?" That person said in a neither fast nor slow manner. "This prince?" Princess Ming-En was surprised for a moment, and suddenly thought of another person in a flash. That person also had such an enchanting voice. She looked up and could not see his face due to the cloth covering his face, but the pair of eyes that were exposed were as intoxicating as peach blossom wine, as if there was an affectionate smile in his eyes, but when one looked at it seriously, it was full of indifference. "You are His Highness Prince Rui." Princess Ming-En cried out involuntarily. "His Highness Prince Rui?" Xie Changwu suddenly looked towards the black-clad person. He also felt that this black-clad person gave him a familiar feeling, as if he had seen him somewhere before, but he had never thought that it was His Highness Prince Rui of the Great Liang. The black-clad person did not admit nor deny, and in the eyes of both of them, it was a tacit agreement. Xie Changwu hesitated for a moment before asking, "What is the matter for His Highness Prince Rui to come down here?" Even if Xie Changwu racked his brains, he would not be able to think why Prince Rui would appear here. One know that Prince Rui had no relationship with him at all, and did not seem to have any dealings with Princess Ming-En, so why would he appear here? What did he want to do? Ever since Princess Ming-En recognized that the person in front of her was Prince Rui, the fear that she had earlier completely dissipated, and in a blink of an eye, her eyes were filled with tenderness as she said softly, "Your Highness Prince Rui came here in the middle of the night. What is the matter?" Xie Changwu felt that Princess Ming-En was really stupid. Since the other party had killed the guards that both of them brought, it was obvious that they were not here to reminisce. Moreover, this Prince Rui gave off an extremely dangerous feeling which made Xie Changwu's heart somewhat tremble. Prince Rui did not bother about Princess Ming'an and instead looked at Xie Changwu. "You seem to have something to ask this prince?" Xie Changwu forced a smile. "Dare to ask your highness if you have seen my third younger brother?" That letter had Xie Changchao's handwriting and the person who came was Prince Rui. Could it be that Xie Changchao had fallen into Prince Rui's hands? What grudge did Xie Changchao have with Prince Rui? The man in black smiled. "I have." Xie Changwu's eyes widened. I killed him." When the words were said, Princess Ming'an and Xie Changwu were simultaneously stunned and involuntarily shuddered. After a long pause, Xie Changwu then asked, "Why does your highness Prince Rui want to kill my third younger brother?" "He provoked someone that he should not provoke." "Provoked someone that he should not provoke?" Xie Changwu's heart was suspicious. Who? Could it be Shen Miao? The only person that Xie Changchao offended was Shen Miao. But why did Prince Rui help Shen Miao to stand up for her? What kind of friendship did Prince Rui have with the Shen family? Xie Changwu felt that he had seen the tip of an iceberg of a shocking secret, but because he could not see the whole picture, his mind was in a mess. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.